name's Staff Sergeant Brian Reynolds. I'm here at Kandahar Air Base with the 519th Route Clearance Company out of Fort Leonard, Missouri. I'd like to say hi and thanks to all the veterans there today at the Coca Cola 600.
This is for all our troops. Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys! Cars all over the place down here in turns 1 and 2. Where did he come from? You got to expect the unexpected. Harvick, the closer, wins it.
On America's greatest weekend, stock car racing's longest night, the Coca Cola 600, is about to unfold on Fox as the field rolls out behind the safety car. Let's have a look at the Geico starting grid for tonight's race. Eric Almirola in King Richard Petty's 43 has the pole. His teammate Marcus Ambrose in another Petty Ford will start alongside. Jimmy Johnson in a Chevy looking to do the All-Star 600 sweep, and Greg Biffle, the point leader in a Ford. Clint Boyer and Mark Martin in Toyotas. Martin, the 2002 race winner. Casey Kane is a two-time winner. He's in a Chevy. Denny Hamlin's Toyota. That's row 4. Paul Menard Chevrolet and Regan Smith in a Chevy. They fill row number 5. A.J. Allmendinger trying to become the 7th driver to score his first career win in this race. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. came within 700 feet of winning last year. It's Trevor Bayne's first 600. Kevin Harvick was the surprise winner last year. Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Newman, a 9-time pole winner at Charlotte. Kyle Busch, top 4 finishes, 6 of his last 9 Charlotte races. No wins yet. Landon Castle, great run for him in his Toyota. Joey Logano, best average finish here among active drivers. And Matt Kenseth got his first career win right here. Tony Stewart is the defending Sprint Cup champion. He and Jeff Burton share row number 11. And Jeff Gordon is deep in the field. He's a 3-time 600 winner with yesterday's preliminary winner, Brad Keselowski. As you look at the rest of the starting lineup, let's go to the front row.
Eric Almirola, it's DW. Got a copy, bud?
Yeah, I got you, buddy.
Hey, man, you're leading the field to the biggest race of the year. What are your thoughts?
I'm excited. It's awesome to have this 43 back on top of the board. We proved we can be fast for a lap. Now we got to do it for 600 miles. So really cool to be able to do that with U.S. Air Force on the car and on Memorial Day weekend. So just want to give a shout out to all the troops and everybody who served for us. Thank you a lot.
Yes, sir. Good job, everybody. Did the King give you any advice before to start this thing?
He said, don't let anybody pass me, and we'll be all right.
Well, you're in the best place for that to happen. Good luck, my friend. We'll be watching.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
Almirola is the 5th different driver to win a pole in the famed 43. Richard Petty won 116 of them, driving that number. Let's get down to our NASCAR on Fox All-Star Pit Crew, beginning with my broadcast partner of 32 years, Dick Berggren.
Well, Carl Edwards has had a tough year so far, Mike. He has not won a race yet, despite the fact that both of his teammates have done so. But he thinks he's got the setup to win tonight. He was fast in 2 of the 3 practice sessions, and the setup is supposed to come on when it gets dark and late at night, just in time for the checkered flag for Carl Edwards to win it. Steve Burns.
Well, thank you, Dick. Steve Addington there is Tony Stewart's crew chief. This team made no secret of the fact that they struggled last Saturday night here on this very racetrack in the All-Star race. I talked to Steve just a moment ago. He said they got the car good in first practice yesterday, experimented a little bit in the second practice, didn't like it. They went back to what they know is good. Nothing fancy tonight, just 600 miles of good, hard racing, Matt Yoakum.
Steve Burns, Kyle Busch told me the key words for success tonight for him is pace and progress. So the 600 miles, he's going to need to pace himself to make progress starting 17th because his biggest concern is using up the good part of his tires too early in a run. He's never won this crown jewel event. His best finish, 3rd on 2 separate occasions, but his car consistent and fast. It could be a very big night in Candyland. Chris Devoda?
Well, Kevin Harvick has a knack for winning the big races, the Daytona 500, the Brickyard, and this race, the Coca Cola 600 last year. He knows how to stalk and pounce when it counts. That's why he's nicknamed the closer. He has an extra incentive tonight. He is carrying the colors of of the Folds of Honor program, an initiative that provides scholarships to military families who've had family members killed or disabled in service. Jeff Hammond.
Krista, it's the greatest race weekend of the year, and it all comes down to the grand finale, the Coke 600. And remember, folks, it is the toughest and the longest race of the season. And to be able to view it all, well, you need to have a big screen, a big network, a great team. So take a seat and let's get this show on the road. And guys, I'm proud to be an American.
Yes, that is the world's largest TV screen that Jeff Hammond is atop of. This race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting, so grab some Buds. It is a beautiful day in the Queen City. It's been warm, hot, and sunny. Morning clouds cleared out, and the temperature got up into the mid-80s. And we have mostly sunny skies with a few big white puffy clouds. 400 laps to complete 600 miles here on pit road, 45 miles an hour, but they will enter turn one at over 190.
There you see the fuel window, 48 to 54 laps. I think we'll see a lot of strategy. Kurt Busch in the 51 car crashed in qualifying on Thursday. He goes to the rear of the field in a backup car.
10 former 600 winners in the field, 16 checkered flags in this race between them. We start in broad daylight, sunset 8:29 Eastern time, and we'll race deep into the evening in stock car racing's longest night.
Well, Mike, this has been one of the most awesome pre-race shows I think I've ever seen. The job they did here at the Speedway, honoring our troops. Today is their day, but tonight, these guys on the racetrack is theirs. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go Memorial Day racing, guys.
Teammates side by side into turn two. Almirola with lane choice took the inside, but Ambrose told us yesterday he would lead the first lap of the 600. Marcus Ambrose in the number 9. Almirola second. Greg Biffle looking, but he's up on the high side, and here comes Johnson. That's Jimmy Johnson, 5-time series champ, for third. Ambrose leads lap 1.
And this is a kind of a picking up where he left off last week. Remember how strong he was in the early going of the All-Star race? Ambrose out front, looking good.
Point leader Biffle side by side with Jimmy Johnson, and Clint Boyer right with them, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, Clint Boyer in that 15 car was so happy in final practice. He only ran 4 laps yesterday afternoon.
It's nice and calm up in the front right now, but don't look in your rear view mirror because they are 3 and 4 wide back here, dicing for position.
The front straightaway in turn 1, shaded by the condominiums and suites, and then they break out into the sunlight between turns 1 and 2. Track temperature, track surface changes dramatically at that point, and off into the sunshine in turn number 3 before a respite in shade in 4, and here comes Almirola. Eric Afterburner, winner of the pole, taking the lead to get 1 Sprint Cup bonus point from his teammate.
Didn't put up much of a fight, Ambrose didn't, but it's not a good time to be putting up much of a fight.
Ambrose settles back in second. Here's Matt.
And the game plan is for the 43 at some point here quickly to give the lead back to the 9 of Ambrose. And Todd Perry told me this morning, their biggest objective, clean air. It's going to be their biggest friend tonight. That car loves it.
It's kind of what I was seeing there, Mike, Larry, that looked like the 9. Looked like the 9 gave up pretty easily to the 43 to let him take the lead there for a lap or 2.
Jeff Gordon up to 17th in the 24 Chevrolet. He's gained 6 positions since the drop of the green flag. Joey Logano, Trevor Bayne. Trail Gordon off into the corner. Bayne has faded from 13th to 19th. Martin Truex in the 56. Battling the 22 of A.J. Allmendinger. That's 11th place.
Yeah, A.J. Allmendinger in that 22 car, we know he was fast last week. We actually thought he had a shot at the pole on Thursday evening. Got a little bit too loose with his car qualifying, but looked solid in the practice since then.
He got just a little too loose on that before, Larry, because he got way up next to the fence, but he got it back down the bottom and recovered okay.
Ambrose, Almirola trade the lead, but this time they've got company. The 16-4. Point leader Greg Biffle looked to make it 3 wide and thought better of it.
Biffle's saying, look, you teammates can play games if you want to. I got business to take care of.
Well, they've gained some other company there. Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car won the All-Star race a week ago here at Charlotte.
And Larry, Chad said that that's a better car. Have you ever told a driver you brought back a worse car?
I don't think so, but if Chad Canal says it, I believe it.
Johnson for third against Almirola. Jimmy Johnson ends the 6-lap run of 3 Fords at the front of the field.
And what I like about that 48 car, the same thing he did over here last week, right on the white line, maybe even a little bit below it at times. He is eating that bottom up.
Biffle's looking for the lead as they roll off toward turn number 1 from Marcus Ambrose. Wasn't quite close enough to make the pass that time.
And don't forget, that 16 car was up in flames here last weekend. Don't think they're going to have that kind of issue tonight. He got some ponies up under that hood tonight.
Jamie McMurray, whose car owner, Chip Ganassi, won the Indy 500 earlier today, has gained 8 positions. And for the lead, they're side by side off turn 4. This time, Biffle puts his Ford in front.
What do you think, Larry? Those cars look awfully good right now. Should they be worried about the track changing on them as we go going down the road here?
Well, I think it's like we said at the top of the show, Darrell. These drivers and their teams, they know even when you've got a car like Greg Biffle right now, you've got to be aggressive with changes as we start getting into the night and the track starts cooling down.
Coming around to complete 10 green flag laps. Greg Biffle in front of Marcus Ambrose in Fords, Jimmy Johnson Chevy, Quint Boyer's Toyota, then pole sitter Eric Almirola's Ford.
On Twitter, Coca Cola, open happiness.
15 laps complete. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. From pit lane to victory lane, every NASCAR driver counts on Goodyear tires. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Marcus Ambrose back in the lead. Jimmy Johnson half a second back. Greg Biffle, Quint Boyer, all within 1 second. Then Mark Martin in 5th. So Biffle has given Ambrose a little bit of space, a little bit of working room there, Matt.
And Mike, there was concern in the Biffle camp. Remember back in the All-Star race, they had an experimental engine, and like DW said, they burned the car down. Well, they've got their good race engine here, but his concern is the temperature. They had debris on the grill earlier. Then he tried to get in behind another car to change the air around it to try to get more debris off. He says that has not helped. The temperature's climbing. They are concerned. Right now, they said the last lap by finally now is starting to come down, but there was some big concern.
I wondered what he was doing because he ran up, he let Jimmy Johnson get by, Biffle did. Then he ran up to the back of Johnson into 3 like he was going to run into him. I thought he was going to hit him, and that stuff flew right off.
Rookie Josh Wise has taken his car to the garage. If he doesn't return, he'll be the first retiree from this 43 driver field, as Greg Biffle half a second behind the Tasmanian Marcus Ambrose. Notable that 3 Aussie drivers each started on the front row of their respective race today. Mark Webber in Monaco, who won the Grand Prix. Ryan Briscoe at Indianapolis started on the front row, and Marcus Ambrose, the outside pole sitter for this Coca Cola 600. We got a lot of fans in Australia, and they've got a lot to be proud of today.
It's a pretty good day there, mate.
You know, I just don't think it should come as a surprise that Ambrose in that 9 is running as good when you look at how he ran in the Sprint All-Star race last week, and you go back to last year, 2 top 10 finishes here at Charlotte.
Casey Kane running 6th in his Chevrolet. Looked like right there Biffle was going to take another look at the lead as Ambrose low off the corner comes up and closes the spot, and I don't think Biffle liked that very much.
But I tell you, I'm not so sure that Biffle still maybe doesn't have a little something on his grill, because he is flying down the straightaway and about running over people when he gets into the corner. Watch him go down this back straightaway. Watch his thing. See, I think he's still got something on the grill maybe.
So not that he was upset with Ambrose. He wanted Ambrose to sweep up in front of him to create that pocket of air that would dislodge whatever stuck to his air opening below the bumper.
Yeah, and you'll reach up. They'll tell him as a driver, you turn your fan off, your radiator fan off. That reduces the pressure in the ductwork, which will help get that stuff off the grill. Once you get up behind somebody, create that low pressure area.
Yeah, Matt Yoakum was just telling me that Greg Biffle's saying his water temperature is up to 265. Get much hotter than that, you're going to start spitting water and you start losing horsepower.
You know, the thing about Biffle is he's not going to slow down. You know, if she blows, she blows, because he's not going to stroke it, I can tell you that.
You're riding with Greg Biffle behind Marcus Ambrose, diving down into turn number 1. And Biffle to the inside for the lead.
Mike Biffle's one of those kind of guys, if she's going to blow up, she's going to be out front when she does.
Well, Darrell, looking closely at the front of that car, I don't see anything that's covering up that air intake.
I don't either, Mike. It looks to me like he got it off. It's pretty clean, unless they just got the thing taped up too tight.
These drivers and their teams will get very aggressive with tape on the nose, because that helps the downforce, helps the car turn, and helps the straightaway speed, plus anticipating it's going to cool down as we get into the night.
Jeff Gordon just moved up into the top 10. We've completed 25 laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Coca Cola 600.
Hi everyone, I'm Greg Biffle, member of the Coca Cola racing family, and you're watching the Coca Cola 600 on Fox.
Is better. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
KFC's fully maxed meal loaded with mouth-watering favorites, a free drink, and your chance to win one of 17,000 fully maxed prizes, including the ultimate Jeff Gordon race day experience. Today, tastes so good. You're riding with Greg Biffle, who has a 1.4-second lead on Marcus Ambrose. A couple of drivers have gone to the high side, like Kyle Busch and Juan Pablo Montoya. But the biggest mover in this race is Jeff Gordon. He has gained 14 positions up to 9th from 23rd. Jamie Mack, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, and David Gilliland also on the move.
Just remember Kurt Busch in that 51 car. That's a backup car for him. Crashed in qualifying on Thursday. This has to be a pleasant surprise, I think, to Jeff Gordon and his team, because, Darrell, we did not see this type of performance out of this car anytime since we've been here.
Obviously, Larry, they were working on a race setup and probably a long run setup, because what we saw in practice, the car was consistent, but it was consistently slow, but that's a good pace for the race.
Steve?
Update from Jeff Gordon, Mike. He says, I'm just a little bit tight on initial throttle, but I'm pretty good on entry at both ends of the racetrack.
And that's important, because which way do the turns go? They go to the left. And I always want to be nice and snug when I drive off in the corner at 200 miles an hour. Don't want that back end stepping out with me.
Rookie Stephen Light has made a pit stop. He's back out on the racetrack, Larry. 33 laps. If we stay green, when do we expect them in?
Well, I think we'll see them maybe come a little early. Here you see Jeff Gordon driving by Denny Hamlin in 11. That's going to move him into the 8th spot. Remember, he started back in the 23rd position, so really moving up. I think we'll see him start coming a little early on this first stop, just to make sure, probably somewhere around lap 45 to 48.
Okay. So about 10 to 12 laps from now, as Jamie McMurray and A.J. Allmendinger battle. Allmendinger's complained to his crew he doesn't have the straightaway speed in that 22 that he would like.
Well, get up there in that high line, and that'll pick up that straightaway speed. That's what Jamie McMurray did, and he's starting to move. You lose a little time getting in right here, but, man, you make it up so much on corner exit.
And there's the difference. As rookie Cole Witt takes his car to the garage, Jimmy Johnson is tracking down third place Clint Boyer in the 15.
I'd say Johnson, based on the way they were, you know, over here last week, it took about 10, 15 laps for that car to sort of free up and get going. I don't think he's in any hurry tonight. He's sitting in a pretty good spot right now, running fourth.
Veteran Joe Nemechek makes a pit stop, and here's your leader, Greg Biffle, and we listened in on Greg and his team.
I don't know if you heard me the first 2 times, but make sure you got your gear fans on. That's where all fans are on in here, everything.
Heat of the day, temperature in the low 80s. It's going to drop 10 degrees or more before this race is over late this evening.
I just hope Biffle doesn't have any air conditioner issues.
Had that a year ago.
38 green flag laps. Greg Biffle is your leader by 2 seconds over Marcus Ambrose as we celebrate Memorial Day weekend in Charlotte. Pit stops began very early with A.J. Allmendinger and Jeff Burton at lap 40. Now 4 laps later, more are in. Krista.
Kevin Harvick was in, so was his teammate Paul Menard. For Kevin Harvick, he said he's just really tight up off the turns. They made an adjustment to help him with that balance condition.
Paul Menard in early, and here's Marcus Ambrose with Danica Patrick.
He's going to spin her out. She just stopped right in front of him.
Not very happy with Miss
Nope,
Patrick.
not at all.
Danica was practicing pit stops yesterday, realized how little experience that she has with this stuff, but she's doing a good job on the racetrack, Matt.
And Marcos Ambrose of spotter Tim Vito was telling him to try to change his arc. His car was just absolutely too free on entry and exit over in 1 and 2. Dick.
And Carl Edwards on pit road right now. They did not expect to run particularly well in the sun. That's what they've got. They're set up for later. Matt.
The National Guard car service already complete. They made one big adjustment. His complaint, it absolutely would not turn. Too tight, Krista.
Meanwhile, Matt, for Clint Boyer, he's saying he's just a little bit loose in, and he says his car is bound up, center and off. Steve?
Krista, Jeff Gordon making a spirited charge up to the field from a 23rd starting position. It will be 4 tires. He said that his car was good on entry. They've just made very small air pressure adjustments, Matt.
And Steve, the pit bull's up on top of the wall waiting for Greg Biffle to bring that 16 car into his pit box. Pulls it to a stop. You heard his complaints earlier about the car was running too hot. They're going to clean the grill here. No major adjustments, although the car was tight. Meanwhile, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, 3-time Coca Cola 600 winner in. They were talking about pulling a spring rubber to try to free up the race car or hold that adjustment until later in the run. Johnson is away. Steve.
Well, Matt, pole sitter Eric Almirola had done his best. He dropped about 7 positions. He said that he'd been sliding the front tires coming off the turns early in this run. His problem was he had gotten tight when landing on the exit of the entry, actually.
Thanks, Steve. David Gilliland, the last of the cars to make that initial pit stop under green, so the pit window opened at lap 40 and continued through lap 46. Before pit stops, Greg Biffle had a 2.1 second lead over Marcus Ambrose, and that has narrowed to 0.8 of a second.
It's because Greg Biffle stayed out 2 laps longer than Marcus Ambrose, and it's about 1.5 seconds a lap, old tires versus new tires.
And I believe the 48 made that adjustment because it took them a little longer on the left rear, as if they were in there pulling out that spring rubber.
Riding with Jimmy Johnson back straight away. 193 miles an hour into the corner. Bobby Labonte ahead of Greg Biffle.
All right, this is the 2 laps that a driver makes, including his pit stop right here. And there you see Kyle Busch in the 18. Now, this would be the laps, the trip down pit road at 45 miles per hour, and the pit stop itself. You can see Kyle Busch just a little quicker than Greg Biffle and his team.
Now remember what happened to Marcus Ambrose. He and Danica Patrick having a little disagreement about what the pit road speed is. No speedometers in these cars, remember.
That actually started off the racetrack. Danica came off the racetrack. Marcus came off right behind her. He was flying and she was stopped, and it just really messed his rhythm up.
Greg Biffle out front, driving for legendary drag racer, team owner, and innovator Jack Roush, long a member of the Ford camp, who co-owns that team with John Henry, owner of the Boston Red Sox.
Affectionately known as Cat in the Hat. I tell you, that car, that 16 car, kind of in a league of his own, to tell you the truth. He's been a tenth to two, sometimes 3/10 quicker than his second place running Ambrose or even Boyer. He's just a little quicker than everybody at this point in the race.
Boyer right now is the Toyota top performer in the race. 2 in the top 5, 4 in the top 10 at 52 laps, caution free.
One thing that really helped Kyle Busch in that 18 car, though, was how much quicker he was than a lot of the other drivers on that sequence of green flag pit stops.
You know what helped Kyle Busch in that sequence? Kyle Busch.
You better believe it. Getting on and off pit road.
A little tense moment for leader Greg Biffle there, trying to lap Dave Blaney in the 36 along with David Reagan, but he managed to get through cleanly.
And Mike, this is a point in the race where the drivers in their cars, they're pretty fickle because we've got shade in turn 1 and turn 4, a lot of grip. You still have sunlight in turn 2 and turn 3, not much grip.
Greg Biffle, your leader. Another great job by the official artist of Charlotte Motor Speedway, Sam Bass, with this year's program cover painting. Marcus Ambrose has the fastest lap of this race. Get unlimited access to the Sprint Cup Series with live in-car audio and real-time stats with the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app on your Android-powered device. Only on the Sprint Network. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. While we were away, Dave Blaney coasted his smoking Chevrolet to the garage area where he joins Joe Nemechek and rookies Cole Witt and Josh Wise.
I've been watching Danica, and I'll tell you guys, she is searching. I don't know if the car's she's not happy with the car, but she tries to get out of people's way, and she kind of gets in the wrong place. I think it's for maybe lack of experience, but you'll see right here, Brett Keselowski is closing, and she just turns, doesn't give him a lot of room right there. And I think it may be just the car's not suiting her right now. How about it, Dick?
Well, Danica's main job tonight, Darrell, is to finish this race with all the fenders on that car. So she's doing the best she can to make sure that she doesn't get into any trouble. That was her MO when she raced Indy cars as well. Bring it home in one piece. Right now, she's gaining experience. And yes, the car is not right for her, and they're going to work on it over the course of the event.
Now, keep in mind that yesterday in the preliminary race, 300 miles, she started in the top 5, ran the distance. She's already got 300 miles of racing under her belt here at Charlotte going into tonight's event. Now there is her car owner, Tony Stewart, who furnishes the cars and crew for Danica under the auspices of Tommy Baldwin Racing. Let's check in on smoke. Steve?
Well, Mike, as I said right before the green flag, Steve Addington said they thought they had the setup, but right now, Tony Stewart saying, I'm landing on the left front tire, and it's making the car lean over onto the right front. He also said it started off weird. It was like the splitter was hitting hard on the track going into turn 1.
Yeah, Steve, that car is just not good. It's about like it was over here last week. Stewart running 28th right now.
Wow. 6th place heating up, Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson. They've lapped past Bobby Labonte, and they're running about 7, make that 8 seconds behind the race leader.
And you know, back to Stewart, Mike, I mean, I talked to him, and he said he told Steve Addington, do not bring anything close to what we had last week back over here this week.
He's about to go a lap down to Greg Biffle. But it's a long race, and you have multiple opportunities to get back on the lead lap. You can pass the leader, do it the hard way, You can be the first car one lap down when a caution flag comes out and get the free pass, or under caution, if all the lead lap cars pit, you can elect to stay on track and take the wave around just before we go back to green. 3 different ways to get a lap back here.
And you just have to be patient with your car.
Casey Kane has driven his Chevrolet from 7th up to 4th. Krista?
Yeah, Mike, and that 7th place qualifying effort, Casey said he was actually a little bit upset with. In the All-Star race, he had to use a backup, and he said, I still kind of had that turn 3 wall in my mind from last week. I really didn't want to give up another great car, so I underdrove. I wasn't committed. I said, what about in this race? He said, oh, no, I will be committed. In this race, I will attack.
But what a turnaround Casey Kane and his team that they've made. If you look at the first 6 races, his best finish was 14th. He was 31st in the points, and now he's followed it up with 5 consecutive top 10s. He's moved up to 16th in the points.
I think it shook his confidence a little over here last week when he spun out qualifying, but I think he's got it back. He got it back in the race last week, and he's looking pretty good tonight.
Casey Kane is a 2-time winner of the Coca-Cola 600, but he has had a season that I wish my stock portfolio looked like. Dropped off, picked up 15th place finish, DNF, 1 top 10, DNF, but top 5s ever since.
And he pretty much said this. He said, I waited a year and a half to get in this 5 car. Rick Hendrick hired him halfway through 2010, and he said, you know what? I just was trying too hard to take advantage of getting in that 5 car.
.68 laps complete. Jeff Hammond up on the starter's stand, taking things in.
The Coca-Cola 600 is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Bud. Hope you're enjoying the Coca-Cola 600 at the 100-mile mark. Greg Biffle, who dominated the first 1/6 of this race, and your points leader coming in. We had 5 lead changes in the first 15 laps with Michael Waltrip. Chris Myers observing from the Hollywood Hotel. Going inside the top 20, Jamie McMurray from 31st to 15th. His first career win came on this track, and his most recent win on this track. And driving for Chip Ganassi, going for the double dip win. Of course, he had Dario Franchitti at the Indy 500 winning that race earlier today. And Carl Edwards also moving from 28th up into 18th. But Michael, talk about the fast pace and making changes here without a lot of cautions to be able to do that for drivers trying to make up ground.
Yeah, you better charge into the top 20 like Carl Edwards has done, Chris, because the pace that Greg Biffle is setting will find yourself a lap down in a hurry. You can't give anything up in this sport. You go a lap down, you'll scramble all night to get it back. When you pit, if you tell your crew chief, my car is perfect, the crew chief needs to work on it. Larry McReynolds, you've got to be adjusting your car along the way because the track's going to change.
And let's get some thoughts from Larry up in the booth with Daryl and Mike.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no question. And drivers like Greg Biffle and their team and Jimmy Johnson and their team, they know even when you're out there leading, you've got to start thinking about and anticipating the direction this track's going to go.
Larry, I know that 48 made that change that they were going to make. They made that spring rubber adjustment. He lost a little time in the pits doing it, but now he's the fastest car on the track. So that adjustment was necessary at that point to get him back where he needs to be.
And that's because you anticipate not only the need, but these runs of green flag racing. Now, this is the 4th of last 5 Coca-Cola 600s that has begun with a green flag stretch of 60 laps or more. 4 out of 5. So you know you're going to have that first green flag stop and maybe a second one, and have to plan to be able to make those quick adjustments.
Mike, you have to be proactive. You can't be reactive. You can't wait for the driver to start complaining. Maybe you're in the middle of a run, you lose so much time. You got to be proactive.
4th place.
He is coming, I'm telling you. Lap times are awesome.
Jimmy Johnson, that is. He just passes Clint Boyer. A little more shade on the track up toward turn 4. And Larry, a lot of drivers are reporting their cars are tight.
Well, and that's because, we're getting on into these runs where you burn that fuel load off, and that gains some nose weight, and that makes the cars where they don't want to turn as well.
Let's go to Jimmy Johnson's pit and Matt.
Mike, when you look back to recent years, no driver and team has really managed the 600 and how this racetrack changes throughout the night more than Jimmy Johnson. Chad Canals told me they could sum up how potent their race car was at the end of the first practice on Saturday when Jimmy said, we just need to put it on jack stands. We are that good. The car was a little bit tight the previous run.
And you have data from the last 5 races here. Remember how dominant the 48 was before they repaved the track? They had the data for that track, that surface. When they resurface this track, it's taken them a couple of years to build that notebook back. And now they've got to set up for this racetrack.
Kurt Busch in the 51 had gained a lot of ground. Remember, this is a backup car, but now he is 24th and falls a lap behind race leader Greg Biffle. Here's what happened to Kurt Busch in practice. Qualifying, rather. Trying first to save the lap and then to save the car and ending up in the wall. So now that he's been lapped, and this is a common tactic, diving onto pit road for adjustments.
But he only ran 41 laps on that first run, and we just crossed over lap 82, so this is getting pretty close to scheduled stop. And I think what's also happening is you lose so much time on low tires. Once some drivers hit pit road, you can't be far behind them. You lose too much ground.
He's got to use the strategy he's using, Mike, to try to maybe gain something on these guys while he's on new tires and they're on old.
Riding with Martin Truex Jr. Over the shoulder view as he rolls through shade past the start finish line down into turn number 1, then pops back into bright sunlight at turn 2. A lot of glare there, and then back into the shade in turn 4.
But did you see, I mean, when you turn into turn 3 right now, the sun is going down, and when you turn into turn 3, you are blind. You can't see anything because the sun is shining right into windshield, and you just got a blind spot there for just a couple of seconds. We'll watch Martin Truex here in the old Napa car. Watch him when he gets down here to turn 3. Coming down the back now, headed into 3. Right there, if you're a little higher up, he kind of shaded, he's on the shaded part of the track, a little higher up, and it just blinds you.
Tonight, the Budweiser car sports a special red, white, and blue paint scheme, part of a summer initiative in which the brand will contribute a portion of all sales through July 7th to the Folds of Honor Foundation, providing educational scholarships for families of U.S. military personnel killed or disabled while serving their country. A great initiative. Joey Logano's been in. Here comes Scott Speed, Casey Mears, and Steve. Here's Dinger.
A.J. Allmendinger saying that in the corners, the tires are on top of the racetrack. It is just so tight. When I get on the throttle, they're going to obviously change 4 tires, Mike, and make a bunch of air pressure adjustments.
Regan Smith comes out of the pits. Jeff Burton in along with Juan Pablo Montoya. Second round of green flag pit stops today.
Those air pressure adjustments are critical. The tire acts like a spring, and so you can make a lot of changes to the car, tighten it up, loosen it up, just by adding a little air or taking a little air out.
Harvick on his way in along with Martin Truex and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Krista?
Kevin Harvick saying that right now their setup is closer than they've been here in years past, so he has a better feeling than he usually has coming in. Even though he won this race last year, he only led 2 laps. Right now he's just a little tight. Matt?
Back on lap 44 when Dale Jr. first pitted, the car was just way too tight. Now it swung to the opposite of the spectrum. Now it was really leaning on that right rear. A couple of adjustments for the 88. Krista.
Boyer saying his car is loose in, tight off, but it's the loose in condition that he's struggling with most. He said he was starting to get uncomfortable before this stop. Matt?
Kyle Busch said if he had more security on entry, he could move up the lane and get out of the lane that everyone else is running, but he had to run the bottom. 2 adjustments for the 18. Service complete.
Mark Martin, Tony Stewart, Marcus Ambrose on pit road, along with Jimmy Johnson and others. Jeff Gordon is in. And Keselowski, Matt.
Very solid run so far by Marcos Ambrose in the 9 team. He said that he just needs more security on entry and exit. That way he can make more gain. Meanwhile, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson is in. He said he needs 2 small adjustments to help out Steve getting more reachability.
Jeff Gordon said he had great drive off in the first run, but he had lost that. He also said that his car had gotten loose, so they're going to reverse an air pressure adjustment, Krista.
Casey Kane also complaining of a tight race car. He also said he's been on the splitter pretty hard, but the team telling him you're better in 1 and 2 than the rest of the guys out here.
Eric Almirola comes in, and we're almost done with this round of pit stops. Greg Biffle remains on the racetrack along with Travis Kvapil. Steve?
Mike, Eric Almirola, the pole sitter, saying the right front's just giving up way too early. Just like on the first run, they too will adjust with air pressure. Dick.
Well, Trevor Bayne has not had a good run so far. He struggled in practice as well. They've got a lot of work to do on this car to get Bayne competitive. 2011 Daytona 500 winner, Matt.
And the man who's dominated much of this race, Greg Biffle, now on pit road. Matt Fuchsia has stopwatch in hand. The crew guy's on the wall. 2 boxes away. They can now legally jump over the wall. He slides to a stop. No adjustment for the car that has dominated much of this race so far. The only complaint he said, if anything, the car was just a tick free on entry into 3. But he can adjust that issue by how he entered the corner. He's away.
David Stremme takes his car to the garage, so only David Gilliland has not pitted in this sequence. He was also the last driver to pit in the first round of green flag stops.
The position that Greg Biffle in the 16 was in with that much of a lead, he could afford to be the last driver to come to pit road.
You know, Larry, one thing that I sit here and I watch this race many, many years, I worry about is wearing you're just running the car to death. Biffle is so much quicker than everybody else, but I don't see him letting up one bit. He's just pushing. I wouldn't mind seeing him save a 10th or 2, make it easier on him and the car.
This time, prior to pit stops, Biffle had a 4.2-second lead over Ambrose. He's lost half a second of that lead as we continue under green at 93 laps.
Hey, this is Jamie McMurray, member of the Coca Cola Racing family, and you're watching the Coca Cola 600 on Fox.
100 laps complete, 43 degrees Celsius inside Tony's race car. There's the thermometer. We'll do the math. Convert to Fahrenheit. 9/5 plus 32 is 107.6 degrees inside Tony Stewart's car.
And that's up at the headrest. I mean, if his thing was down around his feet where the heat is off the floorboard down there, it's probably 130 degrees, I would imagine.
Let's have a look at last round of green flag pit stops, Larry.
Again, this is 2 laps, including coming to pit road and the pit stop, just like the last time. Kyle Busch and his crew, the 18, quicker than anyone. You see the comparison here to Greg Biffle in the 16. Now, Kyle Busch's pit crew was a half a second quicker, but you can see the difference is a second and a half. See, here's the difference in the actual pit stop between the two, roughly a half a second. Kyle Busch, the way things are going, he's probably one driver that hopes this thing stays green. He makes up so much ground getting on and off pit road under green.
And they've made some nice adjustments on that car because he is the quickest car, one of the quickest cars on the racetrack.
Now look at his progression through the field. Prior to this pit stop, he was 10 seconds behind Greg Biffle. At this moment, he's 4.4 seconds back, so a big gain on that last round of stops.
And those, you know, people say, well, you said he was the fastest car. No, then you said he was, but that's how it goes. It ebbs and flows. Somebody will be fast for a little while. He'll kind of wear his tire down. Here comes someone else. So when we say somebody's the fastest car, it depends on, you know, where they are in the race.
We've gone 103 laps green from the start of this race. Nowhere near the record, 1984. 220 laps under green before the first caution. Bobby Allison, the race winner that year. Here's today's Ford F-150 EcoBoost Track Facts. 12th front row sweep here for Ford, most of all time. 28 Cup wins here for the Blue Oval. Matt Kenseth won here last fall, and today Ford drivers have led every one of the 104 laps so far. A.J. Allmendinger had a good pit stop, but Steve, about 5 laps ago, he almost knocked the wall down between turns 1 and 2. What's up?
Mike, he's concerned. He just told crew chief Todd Gordon, I almost wrecked again. You guys got to help me. It's only turning by shattering the rear tires. Then he went on to say, hey, are the rear tires tight? I've got a bad vibration. They did confirm that all the tires, or wheels rather, are tight.
They just have a lot of those issues with that car, Larry. They have, I can think back to Bristol. He couldn't even drive a thing on the straightaway. It had a vibration. The car was moving around. I'm not sure what's going on with the little 22 car, but I think they got a continuing issue here that they haven't got their arms around.
11th place battle, Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray in the 1, and Martin Truex. 2 Chevys and this Toyota. Back into the shade on the front straightaway. 106 laps complete. Greg Biffle enjoys a 3.6-second lead on Marcus Ambrose.
Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
The Coca Cola 600 is sponsored by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by Farmers. We are insurance. We are farmers.
They were just on pit road 20 laps ago. They're going to get another chance. Debris high in turn number 3 puts us in the first caution period of this year's Coca Cola 600 after 112 laps. Well, let's see what they'll do with just 20 laps on those tires. Matt?
And Mike, the car that's dominated much of the race, Greg Biffle, no changes in the last stop. Right now, he and Matt Fuchsia debating whether to make any change at all. The debate still goes on. We'll see when they make that stop. Krista?
Casey Kane still talking about his race car being a little bit tight. That is his biggest issue right now.
Brad Keselowski, hot inside his race car, said, I need a cold towel. He said his car has good stability on entry and exit, just a little tight in the center, Dick Berggren.
Jamie McMurray has been passing cars all night long. He has picked up 20 spots. There's still more speed in the car, so they're going to adjust it on this pit stop.
Marcus Ambrose, Jamie McMurray, then Greg Biffle in the race off pit road.
Honestly, I was not surprised to see a couple drivers change just 2 tires because I know the left side tires are not wearing a bit.
First caution flag in the Coca Cola 600.
Live at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Coca Cola 600. Time for an AT&T race break, brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, Rethink Possible. A triple header of racing, the Monaco Grand Prix, won by the Australian Mark Webber, and he led most of the laps. And then the Indy 500. Chip Ganassi-owned Dario Franchitti wins his 3rd, Ganassi's 4th. And here, the patriotic pre-race ceremony, the nightcap to a triple header of racing around the world. Greg Biffle taking the lead early and has dominated, leading 97 laps so far with Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers. But we had under green, he was able to take pit stops and hold the lead. Caution moments ago, strategy different, lost the lead.
Yeah, Jamie McMurray and Marcus Ambrose cooked 2 tires, and it got them up front. That's an interesting call. I heard a lot of the crew chiefs down in the garage area discussing the fact that 2 tires would work, but they thought later in the race when it got dark, while it's still hot and slick, they liked the 4-tire call. But heck, let's see what happens, Chris.
He has led the most laps so far. We have a long way to go, about 170 miles into a 600-mile race. In terms of the guy leading the most laps for Biffle, 4 to the the last 5 are in this race. They haven't gone on to win the race. So who gives the best challenge to Biffle?
Well, I talked about in the pre-race Kyle Busch. 3 out of the last 4 races here, he's been top 5. He's charging early, makes great ground getting on and off pit road. His crew's doing a great job. I think Kyle Busch still will be the guy that they'll have to beat before it's over.
And we'll keep a close eye on that. AT&T, if you want to be involved as well, you can text us or email the Fastest Driver Challenge, the top 4 qualifiers, and you can visit AT&TFastestDriver.com for a chance to win 4Gs. That's $4,000. AT&T, the largest 4G network. Rethink possible. Let's go back up to Mike Joy.
Speeding penalty for Brad Keselowski's Dodge. Too fast exiting pit road. He would have restarted 9th. Now he'll be 25th. Last car on the lead lap. Juan Pablo Montoya was the first car 1 lap down at the time of caution. So his number 42 will be the Aaron's lucky dog. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's. And 5 drivers took the wave around past the pace cars. We got 1 to go. 3 of them will get back on the lead lap. Landon Castle, David Reagan, and David Gilliland. We listen in on Tony Stewart.
Just bear with me, guys. My head's about to screw off, but we're not giving up on this. I don't know. It might be a good thing. I'm pissed off. It might be a good thing at the end here. I'm ready to get after these guys. So just stay calm down there, guys.
And here we go. With 2 fresh tires, Ambrose and McMurray try to scoot away from this field as we're back under green.
Ugly restart back midfield. They were spinning the tires and almost wrecked a couple of guys.
Ambrose clears the 1 car. He has Kyle Busch alongside and moving through. Busch to 2nd. McMurray 3rd. Biffle 4th. Johnson 5th. Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane. Then side by side, Harvick and Kenseth. Busch wants the lead off turn 4. He's trying to rattle Ambrose's cage, but the Tasmanian will have none of it.
Yeah, Kyle Busch just gets off the corner so much better than Ambrose, especially down in 3 and 4 the last time with his 4 fresh tires.
Just to follow up real quickly on Tony Stewart, he dove off a boat into the lake and banged his head against the bottom of the lake. Got a great pass here, great run here, but 48 car and the 1 car McMurray with Denny Hamlin looking on. That may be why Tony said he had a headache.
Well, he also joked, good thing it was his head that he hit. All right, Jamie McMurray up on the high side, Dick.
And he just told the crew he has a loose wheel, so they're getting ready to go over the wall if needed to change tires on McMurray's car.
And remember, Michael and Chris talked about McMurray, one of the 2 drivers that went with just right side tires, so at least they know which side would be loose. It would be the right side.
Let's go back to the restart. And we're going to have a look at Clint Bowyer. There is Clint Bowyer right at the bottom of your screen. And did things back up a little there on the inside lane?
Yeah, it got real ugly there for a little bit. You see right here, everybody bottlenecked up. And, that was after Bowyer rolled out of the picture.
Wild Thing wants the lead. Kyle Busch underneath Marcus Ambrose. And here comes the Biff holding 3rd for the moment.
You know, right now, the 3 guys leading this race are probably 3 of the hardest chargers in the field tonight. These guys, they go hard from the drop of the green to the checkered.
Johnson and Hamlin closing on what is soon to be a 5-car fight for the front spot.
You see Greg Biffle in the 16 running back there in 3rd. He's starting to move up the racetrack a little bit, see if he can work on that 9-car of Ambrose.
Tell you, the guy that I think is just sitting there watching the show, 48 car. He's just running consistent lap times, sitting in a catbird seat, I think.
Yeah, you can watch the show or be the show. He doesn't care about being the show until later on tonight.
The show is his when it's over, not right now.
Boy, McMurray almost got a brush with the wall. They're at Calamity Corner exiting turn 4.
And Larry, that's such a different strategy than you used last week over here. I mean, you had to get to the front last week, and you had to get there in a hurry. Tonight, not so much.
looks like Martin Truex Jr. running 10th has been in the wall.
Aye, aye, aye. That turn 4 wall has gotten to many of them this week over here. It's just a kiss, though.
Jimmy Johnson for third against Ambrose.
Well, I talked about it when Ambrose and McMurray hit pit road and changed his 2 tires. I know talking to a lot of the crew chiefs that we got a battle for the lead here. Greg Biffle in his 16, our points leader. He's back to the front.
Biffle has been the fastest car most of the afternoon and into the evening here. He has led 98 of the 125 laps.
And something we don't really talk a lot about at this point in the season, but every one of these guys want to lead a lap. They want to get one of those points that could be real critical when we get to the cutoff for the chase.
Matt Kenseth underneath McMurray and takes away 8th place.
And it just appears Jamie McMurray in the one that possibly he doesn't have a loose wheel. I almost just wonder, did he pick up some trash on those hot left side tires? I think right now he's just paying the price of only having 2 fresh tires versus all these drivers with 4 fresh tires.
You know, I'm watching the 18 car of Kyle Busch, and Larry, I mean, he is diving into the corner a lot lower than anybody else. Watch him right here. I mean, he got down below the white line, and I think that, see, it upset his car. He's just driving down in there so far and getting so low, and it really upset his car.
He must not have watched the Indianapolis 500 this afternoon, where everybody who got the left sides down in the paint ended up in trouble. At Yoakum.
And DW hit on him perfectly. Kyle Busch, the car is just absolutely in yaw on entry and on exit, meaning the car way too free at the beginning of this run. And the guy right in front, the 16 of Biffle, he cannot wait until this entire track is shaded. He's biding his time. It feels like his car is going to be even better than him.
Greg Biffle has now led more laps this season than he did all of last year. Biffle's been out front for 101 tonight. 2:72 to go in the Coca-Cola 600.
The Coca-Cola 600 is sponsored by Ford, proud sponsor of NASCAR.
Caution is out for the second time tonight. No, it's not the B-52 that did the flyover. It's debris low in turn number 1.
Not sure.
Just prior to the caution, we saw this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The caution was coming out. I'm not sure if maybe Boyer saw it and slowed up, and Allmendinger in the 22 there got into the back of him. Almost took him out.
We don't race to the start-finish line when the flag comes out. NASCAR measures each car's position at the last of their scoring loops at various places around the track that they crossed, and that will determine the running order under the caution.
Lucky break for McMurray.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
If he's got a problem, a great opportunity for him.
And just as big a break for Tony Stewart, who was the first car 1 lap down and gets the free pass.
And what did you hear him say, Mike, on his radio? All right, boys, I know we're not doing, but I'm not going to give up on you. When Tony Stewart says he's not going to give up on you, good things happen.
Still 107 degrees inside that car. As pit road will be open this time. And looks like everyone will take advantage. Matt?
Hey, Mike, as we see the cars hitting pit road, championship point leader Greg Biffle, the upper left. They may go 2 tires, debating back and forth. Biffle says, if anything, free me up just a tick because the racetrack is slowly changing. You see the wrench go in the back window. Meanwhile, the 18 of Busch, his car too free when he got out front. That's why he gave up the lead. 2 tires for the 18. He's away. The 16 as well. Steve.
Man, it's going to be 2 tires for Martin Truex Jr. They'll get some track position, and he said with the shade, his car has gotten a lot better.
Kyle Busch leads the drive off pit road, but one driver stayed out. Jeff Gordon elected not to pit his Chevrolet. That means there will be no wave around on this caution because all the lead lap cars did not pit.
The Coca-Cola 600 is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. By Dodge. Visit your local Dodge dealer today. and by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Memorial Day is a very special weekend where we remember what it's really all about. Remember those who've given it all. But for these Warriors, it's an opportunity to get together once again like a family and really celebrate, and also have an opportunity to have a fun time here at the 600. And folks, what do we say? Hoo-ah!
Thanks, Jeff. 137 laps complete there, flanking the stars and stripes, the emblems of the 5 major branches of the U.S. military, the POW MIA flag. Visible from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear from pit lane to victory lane. Every NASCAR driver counts on the official tire of NASCAR, Goodyear. Jeff Gordon chose not to pit. He was 12th. He will restart as the race leader, and a good break for Landon Castle, along with David Gilliland and David Reagan, who took that wave around on the last caution flag. They're now back up with the leaders as we have 26 cars on the lead lap at the green flag.
I believe they'll eat that 24 alive, Larry. He's staying out. I mean, I don't know if that's a good strategy or not.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the fact that Kyle Busch in the 18, as you can see here, he was able to restart on the high side there. He's going to take the lead.
For second, down to the bottom comes Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson to the top, and they just scoot past Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, that no tire strategy. He'll get back in there somewhere 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th probably, and he'll be okay. But these guys up front got tires. They're going to blow right by him.
Harvick to the inside for 4th, then Casey Kane as they line up on Jeff Gordon. Harvick cannot complete the pass, and Gordon holds on to 4th.
These restarts are hair-raising, man. They went into turn 3 over there 4 wide. I mean, look at this group right here. You think they're not getting it on?
Allmendinger, McMurray, and Newman all in that battle with Carl Edwards.
And folks, remember, these cats, they're running 200 miles an hour down the back straightaway.
Well, I was having dinner with Denny Hamlin the other night, and he said, Michael, it's not like it was back when you used to race. These restarts are wild now. I said, hey, man, I still race. What are you talking about?
Maybe he thought he was talking to me, bro.
Allmendinger, Newman continue to battle, and that's back at 17th.
These are a lot of the drivers that elected to take 4 tires on that last stop.
7th place to the 17 of Matt Kenseth, the 2000 winner of this race, passing Casey Kane.
That's my sleeper pick right there, although he's not a sleeper, but that 17 car will be a player before this night's over with, big time. Mike, this is just a Matt Kenseth kind of race. You know, he just paces himself really well, takes care of his stuff, got a great pit crew, got all the elements it takes to be a winner.
Hey, Darrell, we saw you guys up there. We saw Jeff really struggle on the restart, but he got his track position. That's what he was looking for. He settled in 4th, and the last time by, he ran his fastest lap on the race despite not getting tires. That tells all the crew chiefs up and down pit road that we can play some strategy late in this race. It's going to get interesting.
Yeah, I felt like, Michael, that the guys with the 4 tires would probably eat him up, and then he would fall in there, you know, like he is right now, about 4th, 5th place.
But Larry, his tires have what, 20 green flag laps more than the cars he's racing against?
About 16, which of course also would make the fact that if we stay green, he's going to have to come to pit road 16 laps earlier than any of the other drivers.
And I think that's the bigger issue, Larry, having to come early.
13th place. Carl Edwards passes Regan Smith in the black 78. Here comes Eric Almirola, the pole sitter.
They haven't thinned out much back in this area. These guys are all over each other.
But you can tell this racetrack is gaining speed. Michael just mentioned it. Actually, 5 of our top 7 drivers, they've run their fastest lap of the race since that last restart.
Yeah, this is not like a lot of races. This gets harder, not easier, because it gets faster, much faster.
Brad Keselowski trying to regroup after a speeding penalty on the prior pit stop. He's at 18th.
See, Jamie McMurray, he had to come to pit road last time. They went with 4 tires, a lot like Brad Keselowski. McMurray right now, just now back inside the top 20 at 19th.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., Marcus Ambrose, 11th and 12th, about 5 seconds off the leader.
And there's about where Junior's been running. He's been in that 10th to 15th range. Don't think he has a bad race car. They keep Justin on it. He might get up there before the night's over.
A week ago, Earnhardt won the Sprint Showdown, the preliminary to the All-Star race, and then ran top 5 in the All-Star event, won by his teammate Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, I think Brad Keselowski in that 2 car, he has a car tonight to contend. It's just going to take him a while to overcome that penalty for speeding that he had a little bit ago.
Keselowski a winner here yesterday in the 300-mile preliminary. Other Charlotte winners here Friday night on the dirt track across the street, Joey Saldana in the World of Outlaws winged sprint cars. And last night on a 3/4-mile track along the front straightaway, Marcus Gronholm was the Global Rallycross winner. Dick Berggren.
Carl Edwards also thinks he has a loose wheel. He was told by his crew chief, Bob Edwards, bring it in if you think it's catastrophic. The loose wheel on McMurray's car wasn't a loose wheel. He threw a wheel weight. That produces vibration too.
Yeah, we've been hearing that a lot in 2012. They have wheel weights on them a lot like your passenger car to balance them, trying to run speeds at 190 miles per hour, and they're still 3 wide in turn 4.
Boy, that's Kurt Busch, Menard.
That's a rock in the middle of 2 hard places. Trevor Bayne on the outside.
Bayne, and they're bouncing off each other, man, trying to make a pass.
Everybody fighting for the same piece of racetrack. Back at 26th position.
Yeah.
What these drivers are fighting for is to be the first driver a lap down. Should we get a caution, the driver that's in front of this group would get the free pass back on the lead lap.
And that's what Tony Stewart just got this last caution flag, Larry, and he's back in the race, and that's going to be a big break for him.
150 laps complete. Kyle Busch, your leader on this America's most solemn holiday weekend. We're a grateful nation. Thanks all those who have served, past and present.
The Coca Cola 600 is sponsored by Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossover.
157 of 400 laps complete. Kyle Busch, the leader over Jimmy Johnson by just about 7/10 of a second. 25 cars on the lead lap. Another 8 cars 1 lap down. Danica Patrick running 34th, 2 laps off of the leader. And she was keeping things a little lighthearted during that last caution period.
Make sure you're drinking plenty there. Still got a long way to go.
Yep, copy that. Every time you don't get an answer to a question, that's what I'm doing.
Therefore, I thought you were mad at me.
Oh, no. How could I be mad at you? You're too cute.
Yeah.
But back under green, right in front of her boss and mentor, Tony Stewart. There's Danica on the inside. Wiggle, wobble, and up into a scrape with Bobby Labonte.
I have to say that her track presence has just not been real good tonight. She just gets overtaken by a car so quickly. It just kind of upsets her rhythm. It's really been hard for her to get into a rhythm, really.
Watching the 6th place race, Casey Kane and Denny Hamlin. And let's go back to Jeff Gordon, who is running 4th. Remember, he did not make a pit stop at lap 135 when the pits opened and all the rest of the lead lap cars came in. But once he was passed by Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, and Greg Biffle, Gordon has settled into 4th place. And Steve, he's lost no ground since then.
And not at all, Mike. In fact, he just said, Alan, we're pretty good, meaning Alan Gustafson, the crew chief, just a little bit tight in 1 and 2, but he likes the car.
But here's the problem. If we stay green, he's going to probably have to come to pit road within about the next 4 to 6 laps because of fuel.
And Larry, we knew he was going to kind of have a problem with some of those cars up there around him early, and we knew he'd kind of settle in. But the fuel was the bigger issue.
Because we just completed lap 161. If they go 50 laps, now we had a few cautions that may buy him a few more laps with the 2-to-1 ratio caution to green, but I'm going to say again, in the next 4 to 6 laps, he's going to have to come to pit road.
Now, a little while ago, Carl Edwards had to come in for a loose wheel. Went back out on track. And we listened into Edwards 1 lap down now.
The problem is, you guys got to be real honest, okay? I understand if you think you got tight. I'm not accusing you of anything. Just be real honest, okay?
Yeah, he had no question. He thought it was tight, but let's focus. Let's see what we can do here.
All right, tempo. We got lots of races. Let's just be perfect. The rest of the day, all of us, we can do it.
And that's a trust issue. You got to trust those guys. If they say, I got your wheels tight, you don't have to worry, then you got to get that out of your mind. You got to think it's not going to have, you don't have a loose wheel. But if you do think you have one and you do come to pit road after they said they didn't, that you didn't have a loose wheel, now you got a doubt in your mind.
And I think what also Carl is suggesting there is we had 3 caution laps before we went back racing that we could have come to pit road under caution and not lost all this ground.
Trust, man, it means so much. Trust between the driver and the crew chief, and he's got to trust those guys to get those wheels on there tight.
So Edwards trying to come from 1 lap down like Paul Menard, Kurt Busch, Trevor Bayne, Joey Logano, AC Mears, and Bobby Labonte. Chip Ganassi getting congratulations on his Indianapolis 500 victory from Leonard Wood, new NASCAR Hall of Famer. Time today, it was Travis Quammen up and into the wall in turn number 4. Watch the maroon car high on the racetrack in 3 and 4. Pretty hard hit for Quapple, who was 33rd, 1 lap down. Just prior to that, Jeff Gordon made the pit stop that Larry told you about before we went to break. He was 4th at the time and ended up the first car 1 lap down at the moment of caution. So Jeff Gordon will get the free pass and get back on the lead lap with fresh tires.
And remember, I told you I thought he was maybe a little overdrawn at the luck bank. Well, he just made another withdrawal right there.
A.J. Allmendinger is going to need some service because he almost whacked the wall in turn 4 just before the caution came out, and we are told that he may have an issue with his brakes. We'll find out as they come to pit road. Krista.
A couple of deep breaths. That was the command from Casey Kane to his crew. Just a small air pressure adjustment to help Casey with takeoff. He said, yeah, I kind of suck on takeoff, but the car is good, Matt.
Much more the racetrack was shaded this past run, and you're hearing it in the voices of the top 3 cars. Kyle Busch, his car tighter this run. They're going to make a track bar adjustment. The 16 of Biffle, they're going to go for a wedge adjustment. His car tight, and Jimmy Johnson said his car was tight on the bottom, but when he moved up and started moving around, it was neutral. Small adjustment for him as well.
Kyle Busch will lead the parade off pit road ahead of Casey Kane and Kevin Harvick.
I tell you what, I don't know if anybody was speeding or not. I don't know what they were doing, but there was a heck of a race off pit road right there.
Fairly slow stop for Jimmy Johnson in that 48 team. Lost 4 spots.
Now Johnson and Marcus Ambrose took 4 tires on that stop. We'll sort this out when we come back.
And there is A.J. Allmendinger being pushed behind the wall. Disappointing year continues for him. Started 11th today.
Yeah, and they were up under the hood of that car trying to see what was wrong with it and going behind the wall now.
Recent round of pit stops. Kyle Busch, your leader. Michael, Jimmy Johnson came in the hot driver. He's won this race 3 times, loses 4 spots on that last pit stop.
Yeah, these guys are having some trouble on pit road. We saw Brent Keselowski get caught speeding earlier. Now Jimmy Johnson with problems. It's so interesting how they think this is a 100-lap race at a Saturday night track. They want to get it done right now. No mistakes.
And Mike, 6 leaders, 13 different lead changes so far.
173 complete, Chris, as we go back to green. You see the pace car out ahead of the field, pulling to pit road. Kyle Busch elects the outside against Casey Kane. Kevin Harvick, Greg Biffle through the restart zone to the green flag, and it's Busch out first by a car length and a half. Good jump for Kyle Busch, who says this is his favorite racetrack, though he's never won a cup race here.
Hey, look who joined the party, guys.
Mr. Where did he come from? Kevin Harvick in that 29.
He's been laying in the weeds back here. I've been watching him. He's had a pretty good car all night.
Started 14th, had a good pit stop, and that 29. Whoa, wiggles off the bottom.
That's
just foot in it.
That's low air pressure. When you restart, these tires are a little low. As soon as that pressure comes up, that car will tighten right up.
Matt Kenseth right behind him as the front 7 breakout single file. Now the 17 backing up Matt Kenseth against the 9 of Marcus Ambrose, and it's all double file from there on back. Nobody able to gain much advantage there. Let's go to Harvick's pit and Krista.
Well, this is exactly the point in the race where crew chief Shane Wilson said we will come to life. They had a really quick stop, actually pulled a spring rubber out, and we're still able to not lose any time. Kevin came on the radio and said, Shane, you and the boys are doing the job right. Shane up on top of the pit box saying, yes, we have got you covered. We knew this was the spot in the race where things would come to life. They actually have a sign on their pit box. Remember, Kevin Harvick's nickname is Happy. The sign says it's Happy Hour.
I tell you, that car, that 48 car restarted 8th, and in 1.5 laps, he's up to 3rd.
Well, this is one of the changes. Caution on the speedway.
Caution, 3 and 4 debris.
Metal debris between turns 3 and 4 put us under the caution for the 4th time at lap 177.
I think I see it, actually. Yeah, there it is. It's laying right in the middle of the racetrack.
A.J. Allmendinger behind the pit wall. And Carl Edwards will get the free pass on this caution.
Trouble in the pits. That was in the garage.
You know, we still have about probably 45 minutes of daylight, but I think this track has went through a major change because, Dick, the entire racetrack is in shade now. Dick.
Well, A.J. Allmendinger's car here in the garage. The left front brake has absolutely locked up. The only way they can move this car is by jacking it up so the left front wheel doesn't touch the ground. It is so locked up that Allmendinger was unable to move the car with the engine running and all the power he's got. 800 horse wouldn't move it. This thing is really locked up.
Let it down.
You know, Daryl, I think even with the speeds they're running here, it's our viewers and fans would be surprised how much brakes you really use at this racetrack.
Well, there's no saying. That's tighter than Dick's hat band right there.
Pits will be open this time. Now, they were just on pit road 7 laps ago. Anybody want to roll the dice?
Oh, I don't think any of the drivers at the front will be on pit road. We may see some that's on the lead lap at the back of the pack. Why not? More adjustments. Top that thing off with Sunoco race fuel.
All right, you've got 24 lead lap cars, back to and including Jeff Gordon. No takers through the top dozen or so.
Wouldn't surprise me if some of these guys didn't come down.
Yeah.
Gordon
Stewart's in.
Gordon would be one of them, I'm thinking.
And there's Jeff Gordon in the 24 on pit road.
And the other taker is David Gilliland. So 3 of the lead lap cars come to the pits.
And see, that's that ebb and flow thing. He got bitten by the gas. Not having enough gas, had to pit early last time, so he's going to get some extra gas in that thing this time.
Steve?
Jeff Gordon back on pit road, right side tires going on. He likes the way that car has responded to the track. 4-tire change for Jeff Gordon. They've done a really good job of staying up with this racetrack as it transitions.
.179 complete, 221 to go in the Coca Cola 600 with Kyle Busch in front, under caution for the 4th time tonight.
Hey, I'm Ryan Newman, driver of the number 39 U.S. Army Chevrolet, member of the Coca Cola Racing family, and you are watching the Coca Cola 600 on Fox.
It's easy. By Verizon, whatever you want to do, Droid does. And by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Here's what's fresh off the wire. Brad Keselowski fell back to 25th after a speeding penalty. He's now back up into the top 10, Steve.
Mike, been listening to Brad Keselowski. You know, he got caught for speeding there on that first caution on lap 111. Went from 8th to 25th. When this most recent caution came out, he's using a lot of patience. He says, guys, slow and steady will win it.
That's what's fresh off the wire, served to you by KFC. Come in and taste why fresh is better, as yesterday's winner, Keselowski, tries to fight his way back to the front.
Sometimes a driver screwing up is his best motivation for getting up on the wheel.
Ready for the restart to complete lap 182. It'll be 2:18 to go. Kyle Busch gets a car length jump on Greg Biffle, but Casey Kane and Jimmy Johnson are right there as they roll into one.
Look at the run Casey Kane in that 5 got up on the high side off turn 2, making a big run on Biffle down the backstretch.
Don't cut down too much there, Biff, because the 5 car is there.
Casey Kane opened the door. He may come through for second,
hang on,
and they
buddy.
almost get together. Kyle Busch leads the lap, and they're dead even for second with Johnson fourth. Behind them, Kenseth, Harvick, Ambrose, and Keselowski. Now 8th.
Oh, it looks like you got 100 more horsepower off of the top of turn 2 over there when you get that good run.
This is Denny Hamlin underneath Mark Martin for 9th place.
Mark Martin in that 55 car, he started in the 6th position. He's been in the top 10 almost the entire race. 53-year-old Mark Martin.
And Larry, this race just has some guys fit it better. You know, a Kenseth, a Martin, a Gordon.
Jimmy Johnson underneath his teammate Casey Kane. This will be for 3rd as we go to a NASCAR on Fox Memorial Day. Crank it up. Of the top 15 drivers have just turned their fastest lap of the race within those last 3 circuits.
And do you know how cool at home that sounds on surround sound? It will light up your room, baby. It'll wake up your man cave, I can tell you that.
Kyle Busch holding a 0.3 of a second lead on Greg Biffle, who took the high entry into turn 3 and gained about 0.5 on Kyle. They are running away from Casey Kane and Jimmy Johnson.
But I definitely believe watching Kyle Busch in that 18 kind of get away, it woke Greg Biffle in that 16 up. He keeps working the middle of the racetrack, running Kyle back down.
Well, I think there's a tale of 2 tapes there. The 18's good on the short run. I believe the 16's a little bit better after they get a few laps on their tires.
Kyle Busch has won at this speedway 6 Saturday races and 4 Truck Series races. He's come close, but he's never won the 600 or the nighttime 500-miler run here for the Sprint Cup Series in the fall.
That man we're riding with, Greg Biffle, same situation. Never has won a Sprint Cup Series race here at Charlotte.
Got a nice run here off turn 4. Biffle should be able to make the pass to get down to turn 1. The Biff is on it, boys.
The Biff is back.
He is on it.
He's led 108 of the 191 laps tonight. Last week, in a sprint all-star race, Biffle's car ended up in a shower of flames as the engine grenaded. But that was not an engine designed to run 600 miles. Some experimental parts and pieces were in that motor and that of his teammates Carl Edwards, which also failed to go the distance.
And I heard Jack Roush say that for a race like tonight, you have parameters, areas that you got to stay in. And in that all-star race, they had no parameters, and it bit them.
But Mike, you mentioned it earlier. We just saw the graphic about laps led last year versus this year. Greg Biffle didn't win a race last year. He didn't make the chase. He's been leading the points this year ever since race number 3.
It's almost like he and Carl changed teams, because last year Carl was the man to beat, and he was leading the points. This year Carl's struggling, and Biff's up there leading the race and the points.
Teammates at Michael Waltrip Racing, Clint Boyer and Martin Truex, side by side for 18th. They're about 10 seconds off the lead right now as they battle. Interestingly, both of these drivers turned their fastest lap of the race way back at lap 4. Not under the cover of shade that we have right now. Let's update the front row at Richard Petty Motorsports. Eric Almirola, our pole sitter, running in 12th, 7 seconds behind the leader. His teammate Marcus Ambrose from the outside of the front row in 8th place, 5 seconds back of the lead.
Yeah, and the guy that we mentioned there on that restart, Brad Keselowski, he's already up to 7th. That's a fast race car.
There's Keselowski drawing a bead on Kevin Harvick. He is the leading Dodge Charger in the race. That's Keselowski because his teammate Allmendinger is behind the wall with brake problems. Four laps to halfway at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Greg Biffle is your leader in the Coca Cola 600.
Coca Cola 600, the halfway point. The AT&T mid-race report, and Greg Biffle, the points leader, but still fighting for respectability among the headliners in NASCAR. He led after 100 miles. He led after 200. He's leading after 300. Will he be the leader after 600? Darrell, what are you thinking about?
Well, Matt Kenseth has the patience of Job. He also has a great pit crew. This is a race that is tailor-made for the 17 car.
I like Casey Kane. Casey Kane is the man in this race. I like the way he's steadily gained on things during the course of the event. He's adjusted on that car. He hasn't been flashy like Greg Biffle, but man, he's been steady. He turns the wick up like he did last weekend in the All-Star race, driving that thing sideways. Look for Casey Kane to be fast.
Yeah, Michael, we're about 30 minutes away from this racetrack going into complete nighttime and under the lights. One more major change. You think about Jimmy Johnson, Chad Canals making a big swing early. I think a lot of these drivers are one more major change away from being where they want to be.
Larry Mack, Greg Biffle's trying to change his racing resume. Never won here in Charlotte. And if you look back the past 7 races, he's led the most laps. He didn't end the day in victory lane, trying to change that. He wanted the track to go into total darkness. He has it now. A great time to really showcase what the 16 car has. He says the track is just a tick on the tight side. Mike?
This morning in the Grand Prix of Monaco, Team Red Bull driver and world champion Sebastian Vettel led the halfway lap. His teammate Mark Webber won the race. At Indianapolis, Scott Dixon's Target Ganassi machine led the halfway lap. His teammate Dario Franchitti, the winner. So if the trend is your friend, Chris, Greg Biffle has led the halfway lap. Carl Edwards or Matt Kenseth will win.
And Mike, in the last 100 miles, drivers will reach their fastest speeds of the night in 3 of the last 5 Coca Cola 600s. The winner has led 6 or fewer laps. So stay tuned. The sun is going down. The racing is heating up. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. That's your AT&T Mid-Race Report. The Coca-Cola 600 is sponsored by Coca-Cola. Refresh with @Coca-Cola Racing on Twitter. Coca-Cola, open happiness.
We're just past halfway as all the lights come on at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear. From pit lane to victory lane, every NASCAR driver counts on Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. 187 laps to go, just past halfway. Greg Biffle leads Casey Kane's Chevy Ford Toyota battle with Kyle Busch third. 0.6 of a second is the lead. Busch is 2 back. Jimmy Johnson 4 back. Matt Kenseth 5.5 seconds behind. Then Harvick, Keselowski, Hamlin, Ambrose, and Earnhardt, the top 10.
Did you say Earnhardt?
Yes, I did.
Ooh, slipping into the picture.
There's his teammate Jimmy Johnson in 4th, and here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. running about 1 second behind Marcus Ambrose. 3 of the 4 Hendrick cars in the top 10. Jeff Gordon in 12th after having some off strategy, or at least not the usual strategy, but now he is back up on the same pit sequence with the rest of the leaders.
I've been watching the score monitor, and he definitely has one of the quickest cars, because you think about it, they stayed out with 16 laps on their tires. At the second caution lap, 133, he had to make that green flag pit stop at 167. Right before caution came out, he gets the free pass, and he is working his way back to the top 10.
At Darlington 2 weeks ago, Jimmy Johnson gave owner Rick Hendrick the 200th victory of a NASCAR car ownership career dating back to about 1984. And this Tuesday night in Charlotte, all of Hendrick Motorsports celebrated with a ceremony and a concert by Brad Paisley in uptown Charlotte. Hey, Ambrose might have been in the wall in turn 4. He's very slow in the back straightaway. Tire issue?
Something's wrong with the car.
Something's broken here on the suspension, I think.
Sounds like something's broken on the suspension. Could be a track bar. The way the car's wobbling around.
Oh, what a tough break for the outside pole sitter.
Darrell, I believe that may be exactly what it is. That's what holds the rear end in the center of the car. And we're starting to get into some green flag pit stops right now.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in. So is Clint Boyer. Here comes Ambrose and Jeff Burton.
If you ever look underneath these cars on a pit stop, or when it's going down to pit road, the track bar is so low and it has so much leverage on it that it's surprised it doesn't break more often than it does.
Pat?
And Mike, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is already pitted. Now the 9 of Ambrose is in. They're talking about something amiss in the left front. Todd Perry was saying the left front hub. Long stop here on the 9. Such disappointment. What a great run going they had. They're going to take it behind the wall.
But you know, now that's interesting, Larry, because that's left front hub. The 22 car had left front brake problems.
Well, the left front gets such a load here at this racetrack. We've heard drivers all weekend long about working on the left front. Krista.
Kevin Harvick is in, Larry. Just a small air pressure adjustment. He says he needs to turn just a little bit better. This was anticipated at this point in the night, Matt.
The one consistent thing that Denny Hamlin has said all night, the car has been absolutely tight. A lead change on the track, Steve.
Brad Keselowski, and he said his car is tight in the center and free off. I can't get down to the bottom of the track where I need to be.
Casey Kane, your new leader from Greg Biffle. As green flag stops continue and Ambrose comes back out from behind pit wall after being several laps down. Tony Stewart coming to the pit lane. Here's Paul Menard in.
I'm not sure what Marcos is trying to do here. Maybe he's just waiting for pit road to clear.
A break in traffic, Darrell, now that he's several laps down. Kyle Busch is in. Matt?
Mike, Kyle Busch was telling Dave Rogers, if anything, he thinks he needs to be freed up just a tick at the racetrack. As that run progressed, the car got tighter and tighter. Air pressure change on this 18. Krista.
Casey Kane coming in. He had said his car is very good. And before, the problem was just that takeoff. And other guys on pit road are noticing he doesn't take off, but as longer run goes on, he gets better. Right now, the crew coming around the left side, it will be a 4-tire change for Casey Kane. Matt?
And Jimmy Johnson and Greg Biffle both on pit road. Johnson says he just doesn't have security. It's not a big issue, but doesn't have security that he really would prefer. Meanwhile, Greg Biffle, his race car tight on this run. Wedge adjustment, he's away.
Jimmy Johnson completes a 4-tire stop. He is away. Landon Castle picks up the lead of the race.
And what Marcus was doing, he was waiting for pit road to clear. He couldn't get to his truck. He couldn't get to his garage. And he had to go around the track and then get into the garage.
Castle, your leader. Tough break for Jamie McMurray, missing a lug nut. After his pit stop, he'll have to come back in.
Do you remember the pit crew challenge race we had over here 2 weeks ago now? How all the lug nuts were not getting tight in the pit crew competition? Yep. We're starting to see a rash of that tonight.
Watch the challenges of getting onto pit road here.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin then at 11, and of course you saw Brad Keselowski in the 2. This is what Denny Hamlin saw as he was trying to get on the pit road.
Well, he was trying to take advantage of Keselowski. I think he slowed up a little more than he thought he was going to, and he tried to get around him on the outside. Didn't work.
And don't hit that orange cone, because that's a penalty.
Yeah, and it upsets him too.
The cone?
Yeah. The cone.
Jamie McMurray has to pit or they will pick up his scorecard. Not that they have one anymore. It's all electronic scoring now, but the effect would be the same if he continues to ignore the black flag. Landon Castle has made his pit stop, surrendered the lead, gone back out on the track as McMurray comes in.
I'm sure they were arguing that the lug nut was there and they didn't win the argument.
NASCAR has one and often two officials observing each pit stop, looking at both sides of the car. And they take the opportunity to top him off as that lug nut's replaced. Fourth place, Denny Hamlin inside, Kevin Harvick outside. The Harvicks are expecting their first child, Kevin and Delana, and the joke for the last few months is going to be about the pending baby Otis, which won't be the baby's name. It's just been kind of the nickname for the whole process. Lo and behold, at Delana's shower the other day, a whole bunch of gifts were embroidered to baby Otis. Now what do you do?
Hey, you may have to name him Otis.
Now, Casey Kane had a 0.3 of a second lead over Greg Biffle when he pitted.
But you can see the real difference was the actual pit stop itself. Not only did he lose a spot to Greg Biffle in the 16, our leader, he also lost a lot of ground to Kyle Busch in the 18, who's now running second.
And Larry, how many times do we see when a car is running like this 16 car is, that pit crew steps up, man. They are excited and they want to help that driver.
And another driver had a tough time on pit road was Jimmy Johnson. He was fourth before pit stops, and he was 5 seconds out of the lead. Johnson is now eight seconds back. Here's Casey Kane's stop.
What it looked like to me, he was making an adjustment on the left front, is what slowed that stop down maybe just a little bit.
That or they were just packing it full of fuel. The fuel man stayed hooked up the whole time, which he should. 17's on pit road, guys.
Krista.
Yeah, suspected loose wheel. Matt's saying it's severe. It's shaking like a madman. He thinks it's a rear wheel. If it is the rear, yes, they were just going to do two. It was the right rear is what he thinks was loose. A loose lug nut possibly for Matt Kenseth.
We're seeing teams that normally don't struggle on pit road struggle tonight, like Matt Kenseth's team and like Jimmy Johnson's team.
Matt Kenseth was sixth before having to make this pit stop, and now he will have to come from behind. Casey Kane's pit stop. He's now in third place after these stops. And out he goes. Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint at lap 235. Kyle Busch has the fastest lap of the race. He's currently in second place. You can get unlimited access to the Sprint Cup Series on the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app on your Android-powered device. Only on the Sprint network, the only national carrier with truly unlimited data. You can learn more at sprint.com/speed. Michael McDowell has taken his car to the garage area. A.J. Allmendinger back in the race after fixing brake problems. Greg Biffle, your leader, from Kyle Busch and Casey Kane. Let's join Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. We're over here in race control and with Robin Pemberton, Vice President of Competition. And Robin, even when nothing's really going on the racetrack, there's a lot of things happening up here. You got what? How many people working up here in race control right now?
Well, tonight we got 14 in here. You know, we've got the race director, and he's in charge of calling the cautions and making sure that the law and order is held on the racetrack. You've got the series director. You know, he's in communication with the officials down on pit road to communicate with the crew chiefs. You know, we've got our fire and safety group that's up here, and they're in charge of the wreckers and things like that. We have security that's up here that we can communicate with the racetrack, and then we have our timing and scoring folks that are here and you know, running the computers and making sure that the lap counts are right and the positions are right. And every one of those systems that you look and see has a backup system. You know, the pit road speed, there's a primary and a backup. Every one of these screens that you look at, everything's got a backup system. Plus, the biggest thing we got is our digitally recorded replay system. We have 18 cameras that we record, and it's got a timestamp to it, and it's linked to our timing and scoring. So anytime we want to go back and look at a replay or something like that, when a caution comes out, when we know what timestamp they are as it relates to the loops that are in the racetrack, we can go back and pull those camera shots up and look at different things whenever we need to.
Looks like you got so many eyes and so many different people doing so many different things that, you know, you get kind of like lost in what's happening. But it seems like when something does occur on the racetrack, you're able to, number one, call out the leader, know who the lucky dog is, what. You know, it seems like anything and everything. You guys are on top of it, and it happens so fast. That, to me, I think is what amazes so many people.
Well, when you've had a group that's been together as long as this group has, but not only that, the things that you see in the repetition, everybody knows for something to look at, and so it's perfectly choreographed. You know, all the guys and gals, they do a great job when they're here. You know, but it's a good team. It's a well-oiled machine, and it just kind of flows right now because basically most of this group has been here since the start or early on in the electronic world of timing and scoring and freeze the field, pit road speeds, things of that nature. So, you know, we get along good, but everybody's got a job and what they need to do, and they do it when they have to.
Well, appreciate your time up here, guys. It's just like a well-oiled pit crew. When something happens, they jump into action, they get the job done.
Well, that's it, Jeff. A lot of dedicated professionals here. They're not just all down in pit road or in the TV production truck and manning the cameras. They're in race control and along pit road for NASCAR as well. 242 laps. Greg Biffle, the leader. Kyle Busch, second. Casey Kane, third. Scott Speed has taken his car to the garage area. He'll be the 9th car out of the race. And one of our front row starters is with Dick Berggren.
The symptom with A.J. Allmendinger's car was a locked left front brake. The cause, a broken hub. Marcus Ambrose, a broken hub on your car as well. What is going on with these hubs tonight?
It's just a real shame for our DeWalt team. You know, it's just the story of our year. Every time we put ourselves in great positions, we have crazy things go wrong. And, you know, I've been in NASCAR 7 years and never melted a hub down. So, you know, it's just a shame it was tonight. We run so strong. But my boys are strong. They'll get it back together here, and we'll lick our wounds and get them next week.
All right, thank you. Best of luck next week.
Did you see the size of the brake caliper that's going on that car to try to haul one of these 3,000+ pound stock cars down from 190 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway?
Just think about it like this. On the right side, the tire is being pushed in toward the back of the hub, the big bearing in the hub. On the left side, the wheel is trying to be pulled off of the hub. And the little bearing on the outside, I've seen that fail before, and there's a lot of really pressure on that left front tire. And when it goes down here in turn one and lands like these guys talk about, it loads that left front up big time, trying to pull it off the hub, pull it off the spindle.
Veteran short tracker from Washington State, Greg Biffle, is trying to pull away from this Coca Cola 600 field.
We're
Sprint. Avoid a data dilemma with truly unlimited data. Go to sprint.com/speed.
Greg Biffle, your leader by 2.5. Here's the battle for second place. Casey Kane has caught Kyle Busch for second.
Yep, that's an NFL right there. Not for long. That 5 car is moving, baby.
Well, Daryl, you and I were talking at commercial break. It just seems like they have Casey Kane's 5 car really good for the long haul, the long run, which we're having a lot of those tonight.
Like that tune-up they got on that bad boy. Did you see that fire come out the tailpipes? We don't see that much with the fuel injection.
And here comes Busch right back after him on the outside, entering turn 3. No traffic ahead. Kane with the advantage on the bottom. Busch is going to get the big run off the top. Kane comes up. Oh, hello.
Yeah, just a little bump draft at 190 miles an hour.
Just a little I'm here. Hello. All right, second settles down with Casey Kane. Let's have a look at what's fresh off the wire. Chip Ganassi Racing finishes 1-2 at Indianapolis, but his 2 cars are 1 and 2 laps down here at Charlotte. Jamie McMurray in the 1 trouble earlier, and when Pablo Montoya had to come in and make an extra pit stop for a loose wheel this last time around. Steve?
And Chip Ganassi has made his way here from Indianapolis. Chip, what an emotional win for Dario Franchitti and your organization. First things first, congratulations.
Thank you, Steve. It was a big day. You know, we had new cars up there, new engines, a lot of variables, and my hat's off to our engineers, guys that run the car, Honda. They all did a great job today.
But Chip, the entire NASCAR garage was watching on the big screen while it happened. A lot of people pulling for Ganassi.
I'll tell you, the minute I walked in the garage here, people are high-fiving me, and it's great to come down here and feel welcome, I'll tell you. But right now, we got to get our cars up the grid a little bit.
Congratulations, Chip.
Thank you very much.
4th Indy 500 victory for Chip Ganassi, who first went there as a driver, and now has 4 trophies as an owner. And that's what's fresh off the wire, served to you by KFC. Come in and taste why fresh is better.
Last week, when Dario wasn't running so well, didn't qualify so good, I texted him and said, I'll buy lunch next week when we get home. Maybe he ought to buy lunch tomorrow when we get home. Congratulations, Dario. He lives there at home, he and Ashley. Really nice run today.
.43 laps to go here at Charlotte. And now night has fallen. The track is brightly lit. Those Musco lights around the outside and the unique reflector lights along the inside wall of this speedway, giving the track a jewel-like setting. The temperature has eased 5 degrees, but more importantly, that track temperature has come down 22 degrees from the start of the race.
And that's the big change in the way these drivers' cars will start driving now. We're getting to where we're going to end this thing now.
On the way in, Tony Stewart. On the way out, Carl Edwards getting service, Brad Keselowski, and more as we continue under the green flag.
Trouble down on pit road, guys.
Stewart turned around.
Keselowski and Tony Stewart just collided on pit road, guys.
Darryl, we've been seeing that all night long. Some really close calls during these green flag pit stops.
They'll complete the stop with 4 tires and a chassis adjustment as leader Greg Biffle comes down pit road. Matt?
And Mike, a good opportunity to see the crew members, the tire changes with little LED lights on their helmets for better visibility. Biffle says the car still needs to be freed up some. As Michael Waltrip said, a little bit of trouble getting the left rear tire, off the 16. But like Michael Waltrip said, this is when we're really going to see the track settle in.
Casey Kane in and out with Biffle. He was the second place car. There was 2.1 seconds between them. They come off pit road together. Now let's show you what happened to Tony Stewart.
Yeah, it's happened right here, just right to my in my vision here. Keselowski's going out, and here comes smoke. And they collided.
And Tony's crew had to scatter.
Watch this. Little dirt track action right there. Smoke it back in there.
What a close call for Eric Almirola's crew in that 43 car that was sitting in his pit box.
Wow. And that close call right there almost sent Carl Edwards into the grass. I think that was Carl.
Those are the eyes of an angry man.
Yeah, you think Tony Stewart was hot before?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how about the other driver involved there, Brad Keselowski, Steve?
Mike, he just told his crew, he said, I don't know how much damage I have, but I center punched him. Please tell him I didn't even know he was there.
Big blind spot on the right rear of these cars, especially with the big wraparound headsets, the headrests these drivers have. They have to rely on the crew chief to call him out clear and for help from the spotter up on the roof as well.
Well, and then back to Tony Stewart. He had worked his way back on the lead lap. Now he's a lap and a half down to leader Greg Biffle in that 16 car.
And the nose on the 2 car looked to be pretty good. It's got a little crinkle in it on the right side, wrinkle in it on the right side over there, but I think he's okay.
Stewart was 15th before pit stops. He is now 21st.
With that cycle of green flag pit stops, we are down now to where this race is a 2 pit stop race.
Marcus Ambrose is back on track after replacing that left front hub assembly, but it cost the outside pole sitter dearly. He is 31 laps down, trying to ride this one out from 34th place. Greg Biffle leads over Casey Kane by almost a full second now. .125 laps to go. Greg Biffle is the leader. 0.7 of a second is the margin on Casey Kane right now for his Roush Fenway Ford, and a lap ago this happened.
He just drives that hard all the time. And I tell you another thing you watch with that car, Mike. When it goes through the corner, just watch him from inside the car. Look at his eyes. He's looking back, and that almost kind of like what lost his focus there for a second. But watch that car go through the corner. Left front tire down on the white line, and the back tire's about a foot up hanging out. That car is really loose.
And he's losing his lead because here comes Casey Kane. Matt Kane is close to within 6 car lengths.
Absolutely, and you saw the video there, and all Greg simply told his team, the car's a little bit freer this run, but when you think back to when he would run Nationwide Series, the car was always banging down the wall. The Fab Shop guys took a little die-cast car, took a ball-peen hammer and beat the side of it out and tie-wrapped it to the roll bar just to remind him the right side of the car is still your friend.
But, Mike, you're right. I think they just keep making changes on Casey Kane's 5 car, and he's getting better earlier in a run than he was earlier in the race.
All right, it's stabilized now, Larry. The gap is half a second. Biffle to Kane. Tonight, one night only, the University of Farmers is holding classes up on the starter stand. Here's Jeff Hammond. Spotter stand.
It doesn't matter. I'm just way up here, Mike. That's what really matters right now. Now, folks, we've been talking all race long about how this racetrack is going to be changing. And all the different changes the driver's got to do and the crew's got to do. One group we don't want to leave out happens to be the spotters themselves. Now, I was up here earlier today when the race started, and it was daylight. And you can clearly see that this racetrack has got a different look about it. This is what these guys were seeing earlier on. They had the daylight benefit, but now we've gone into the night. A totally different racetrack. We've got shadows around the racetrack. These cars are getting a different look. The light is bouncing off the side of it. We can clearly see a lead change going on here between Greg Biffle and Casey Kane, guys. You can see the shadows of these race cars. One of the big challenges tonight is making sure these spotters keep up with the changes in the racetrack as well as the look they're seeing, Mike.
Thanks, Jeff. Casey Kane ran Greg Biffle down and passed him for the lead. That is the 18th lead change tonight among 8 different drivers. Let's go to Casey's pit. Krista.
Mike, driving away. Those were the words Casey Kane just heard from his spotter, Clayton Spruill. Yeah, they have been good all night on the long runs, but their issue has been takeoff. He doesn't get off to a good start on a run. They've been making slight adjustments all night to help him with that condition, and it is working.
Krista, you mentioned his spotter. How many different spotters has Casey had these past few weeks?
Well, we know he started the season with his cousin Cole Kane. He then switched to Shannon McLamory. He was most recently using Kevin Hamlin. Kevin Hamlin was just on an interim basis, so currently he is using Clayton Spruill. Clayton Spruill filled in for Kevin Hamlin when Hamlin had laryngitis in Talladega. So by my count, at least 4.
It's a lot of different voices in your ear, Darrell, to get used to.
Let me tell you what I'd do. I'd keep the one I got tonight. I don't know who he is, but that's the one I'd want, because he's doing a whale of a job right now. And just to follow up a little bit on Hammond's report there, when the lights come up, Mike, it's like you turn the contrast way up on your TV. It just really brightens everything up.
And really puts the focus right on that ribbon of asphalt that stretches for 1.5 miles around Charlotte Motor Speedway as they whiz by, covering a football field a second. Casey Kane puts Danica Patrick a lap down. She's now gone 4 down. How's her night going, Dick?
Well, as far as the plan goes, Mike, it's not going badly. Certainly they would like to be a whole lot further forward in the serial order. But from the point of view of her getting laps and keeping the car whole, all that is doing well. Also doing well is that she is getting more and more experience at this. This is the first time she's ever run this series at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And what a time to learn. Runs 600 miles after running 300 here yesterday.
One thing I've noticed, Dick, is that she's not fighting the steering wheel like she was. Remember how she was really juking on the wheel? I mean, really snatching on it, and now she's just kind of got a little bit of a more steady pull on the car, so they definitely made it better.
Moments ago, watch Dale Jr. Boy, the National Guard's on the move. That's Stewart on the outside, Keselowski on the inside, coming through.
Well, we've been watching Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he just keeps getting better and better as well as this race goes on. Came within just a few hundred yards of winning this race a year ago. Ran out of fuel, coming to the checker.
Folks, that is co-opetition right there, because they just kind of gave him the line.
That's a tough place to try a pass right there in the quad oval at the start-finish line. Casey Kane has indeed driven away from Greg Biffle. He's your leader by 1.5 seconds.
Hi, I'm Coca-Cola Racing family member Jeff Burton. You're watching the Coca Cola 600 on Fox.
With 109 laps to go, let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Brought to you by Sprint. Greg Biffle has led far and away the most laps so far tonight. Check out the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app on your Android-powered device on the only national carrier with truly unlimited data. You can learn more at sprint.com/speed. Pole sitter Eric Almirola and Richard Petty's number 43 just went a lap down to Casey Kane, and that will leave us 11 cars on the lead lap. A lot of green flag racing and green flag pit stops tonight. Let's go back a pit stop ago to Brad Keselowski and Tony Stewart. And what happened is Keselowski was leaving and Stewart was coming into his pit.
You saw Brad try to stop, but it was too late.
Stewart went around, but then once they got back out on the track, they were giving each other plenty of room, so much room that Dale Jr. could shoot the middle. Now before this, here's what Brad had to say on the radio, instructions to send to his spotter.
Go talk to Steve and tell Tony what happened there. Calm down here. Get your head back in the game and drive the race car, okay? My head is in the game. If you all would just listen to me. Oh, you're worried about coming out of things, so they're driving it right now. So drive the car. I'll be worried about this 14 when he stuffs us in the fence because he doesn't know what the hell happened.
And I like that. Listen, he knows it. He knows Tony Stewart, and he knows that probably ticks Stewart off. He doesn't want any problems on the racetrack. He wants Tony to know it was his responsibility. He takes responsibility for what happened, and he didn't mean to do it. It was an accident.
Right now, Brad Keselowski's in the 9th spot, Mike, but only a straightaway in front of our leader, Casey Kane.
And Tony Stewart is 20th, 1 lap down. 4th place race, Jimmy Johnson trying to hold it against Kyle Busch. Coming back, and Kyle makes the pass. Johnson comes right back. Bit even out of turn 2, and Kyle's going to pull away with that good launch off the top of the racetrack. Matt?
Mike, entry and exit, that's where Jimmy Johnson's biggest issue lies right now. The car just too free. He can make some gains on the center of the corner, but that's where he has his issue. And Larry Mackey documented earlier the past couple pit stops. You felt like Jimmy might have been giving up too much time on entry. Well, Chad Knaus just told him on the radio the same exact thing. We're going to pick coming up shortly. Think about your entry over and over. We feel like that's where we're giving up some time.
Closing in on 100 laps to go at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Casey Kane leading Greg Biffle by 2.8 seconds, and pit stops coming soon. Green flag pit stops. Carl Edwards is complete. Joey Logano getting service. So is Regan Smith. Tony Stewart's in. Here's Krista.
About 30 laps ago, Kevin Harvick said, I am just way too loose all the way around. They made a slight adjustment to tighten up his car, give him a little more range. Matt?
Jimmy Johnson saying that the race car this past run just wasn't quite in the racetrack like it was the previous run. He says the tightness is all but pretty much gone. Krista.
Matt Kenseth had been off sequence a little bit coming in now. He said he's not panicked. If he can get track position, he feels like they'll be okay. Matt?
Had a close call with his teammate before Jimmy Johnson as Dale Jr. pulls into his box. Jr. has been making gains and gains every segment. The car just a tick free on the last segment. Meanwhile, the 11 and Denny Hamlin, his car has been tight all night. Now just a tick tight. And then his other teammate, the 18 of Kyle Busch, is in. A tear off the windshield. Some of the rubber buildup was right in his line of vision. A wedge adjustment to tighten him up. Steve?
And Matt, Jeff Gordon pulls in just ahead of the 18. Now, Jeff Gordon saying his car is just a little bit loose off of turn 2 and a little bit loose off of turn 4. 4 tires stopped for Jeff Gordon in the 24 car. Matt.
Dominator for the first half of the race. Greg Biffle is in. A small adjustment is expected. See if they put the wrench in the back window. There it goes. He says, I only want a half. The car on the free side this past run. Adjustment complete, and he's away. Krista?
Casey Kane coming in. He said this race is physically grueling. Now down to the last 100 laps. Casey needing just a slight adjustment. He said he needs his car just a little bit looser so he can have more to work with. He's been good all night. He hopes it continues as they change the 4 tires.
A little less than 100 laps or 150 miles to go here in Charlotte. Kane hanging on to the lead. Now will give it up as he comes off pit road, along with Paul Menard and Trevor Bayne.
Mike, Casey Kane ran the dirt track over here Friday night. He ran the race out here yesterday afternoon, and he's running 600 miles a night. He probably is getting pretty weary by now.
But I do think one reason that Casey Kane in that 5 waited to be the last driver to hit pit road, one, he was the leader, but now that puts him where he can divide this last run into 46 laps and 47 laps to get to the 400 lap mark.
And there's your front pair. After pit stops, Hamlin and Biffle. Kane is half a second behind. Casey Kane had a 2.3 second lead prior to pit stops. Now he's half a second back of these two.
Yeah, that's staying out. I know, Larry, we talk about it all the time. It has some advantages, but right at this point, it has a lot of disadvantages.
Pit window open at lap 302 as Biffle works the outside on Denny Hamlin for the lead. So about a 5-lap window of pit stops. And that's made all the difference. McMurray close.
Man,
and Biffle had to get out of it.
Yeah, I think Biffle didn't. I think he thought he had the 1 cleared, and he just didn't quite have it.
And Jamie McMurray in the 1 is working his guts out, trying to stay in front of our leader, Greg Biffle. Right now, he's 1 lap down, trying to keep from going 2 down.
He can try as hard as he wants to, but the Biff will get by.
How about Denny Hamlin in the 11? Here's Casey Kane trying to close on Hamlin. Hamlin was 3.5 seconds back prior to pit stops. Now he's right there racing for the lead.
Boy, and Larry, you're right. Did you see McMurray come off 4 that time? I mean, he was out of control.
"90 laps to go as Fox Sports and NASCAR celebrate America's most solemn holiday weekend. We thank everyone who has served our country in the U.S. military from the American Revolution to today."
475 miles in and counting the laps down in the Coca Cola 600. Greg Biffle has led the most laps, but Casey Kane, battling for the lead, has taken the lead for the 3rd time in this race, and he's not letting it go. Biffle is taking it right with him.
This is amazing racing. We're closing in on the 500-mile mark, and these guys are acting like it's a 500-mile race. They got to get it done. Casey Kane cleared Biffle. Biffle was trying to pass Denny Hamlin, came off turn 2 and hit the wall. There's just been so much action. Look at these guys. They can't get it settled between them.
Well, Greg Biffle has led at the 100-mile mark, the 200, the 300, the 400-mile mark. We're approaching the 500-mile mark, Michael. I mean, he drives hard all night, all day, all long, but with an extra 100 miles in this race, the longest race that NASCAR runs. Is that not a good thing for Biffle?
I don't know, Chris. I know he knows everything that car has in it. He was driving as hard as he could when Casey Kane caught him, so he couldn't go any harder. He had to tell his crew chief to work on it. Adjust it for me. Give me something to work with. Wow, that's great racing, side by side.
Meanwhile, Casey Kane, 300th Career Cup race tonight as the caution flag comes out, the 5th caution of the night. Casey trying to win for the first time in a Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. Let's go back to what you were discussing moments ago.
Check out the Biff here. Off turn 2, he's trying to put a lap and get around Jamie McMurray. Watch. Into the outside wall. Is he? Yeah, just with the right rear a little bit, but that's sideways, 180 miles an hour. And listen to Biffle. Never licked it. Came off the turn, had it wide open, sideways, hits the wall, never lifts.
Led over 200 laps in this race. The debris in turn 1 and 3, bringing out, as we said, the 5th caution. 21 different lead changes, 9 different leaders, and we haven't hit that final 100-mile mark. But we'll be watching closely. Yeah, and just remember, Biffle's motor was hot early. It overheated a little bit. Will that come into play in this last 100 miles? We'll watch out. You can text 34763 or go to AT&T fastestdriver.com for a chance to win 4 Gs. That's $4,000. And Mike, just for a historical reference, it was Jim Pascal who led at each 100-mile mark 45 years ago, leading 502 miles, the most ever in a 600-mile race here at Charlotte.
That's pretty incredible stat, Chris, as we're coming up on 80 laps to go with this caution for debris in turn 3 at lap 319. Mark Martin will get the free pass, so when we restart, we'll have at least 11 cars on the lead lap. That was a water bottle, looked like just tossed out of Kyle Busch's car as we get set to come on to pit road.
I think we'll see strategy all over the place because it's only been about 12 to 14 laps. You cannot make it to the end. I think we'll see some maybe stay out, some fuel only, some 2 tires. I think it'll be all over the place.
I think that racing we saw before this caution was a statement race at that point.
Denny Hamlin stays out. Krista.
Casey Kane saying the adjustment you made, it did free me up, but not in the way I really wanted. I don't know what to tell you. Let's just leave things as they are. The plan is to just take 2 right side tires. Matt?
Bottom left, Darian Grubb kept Denny Hamlin out. Top left, Kyle Busch looking for possibly right side tires only. That will help tighten him up as well as the track bar adjustment. Biffle, he's already away. Right side tires for the 16. He was free as well.
Biffle and Kyle Busch, along with Jimmy Johnson at the end of pit road.
Casey Kane had to stop the 99 car. Carl Edwards came in right in front of him, and he had to sit there and wait for Carl to clear him.
Denny Hamlin did not pit. What do you think of that strategy?
I don't like it.
Well, again, it only has about 12 to 14 laps on his tires, and everybody has to make at least one more stop.
Yeah, these 2 guys better running into each other right there.
Denny Hamlin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. did not pit. Now it gets interesting.
Last time, buddy. If you can start on the front row, stay out. Stay out, stay out, stay out, stay out, stay out.
So Hamlin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. did not pit, and they will restart on the front row.
Well, you know, I say I don't like it, but these guys know that track position is so critical. We'll just have to see how it works out.
Denny was one of the only guys that, you remember down at Darlington a couple of weeks ago, Denny was one of the only guys that stayed out and made it work. I talked to him about it, and he said, I wanted to stay out. I knew how important track position was. He made it work. I love the communication between Darian and Denny there. That's an open dialogue of saying, okay, let's call this live and make it happen the way we want it to happen, which is if we can start on the front row, stay out. I think he's fortunate he got a buddy to stay out with him, too. Dale Jr.'s on the same schedule as him. This should play into those two guys' hands.
Well, I think one key with Denny Hamlin in particular, he has a good race car, and now the track conditions are more conducive to, I think, staying out because the track overall has more grip. And as I said, Denny Hamlin, Darian Grubb, they know every driver out there, including themselves, they have to make one more stop for fuel.
11 cars will restart on the lead lap because they stayed out. There will be no waiver rounds. In one lap, we'll go back to green. You can go to ChevyOutdoors.com, enter for a chance to win a Chevy Silverado and a day of bass fishing with Tony Stewart at his home. 77 laps to go. We're going green in one lap. Matt?
And a great call by Steve Letarte to keep Dale Earnhardt Jr. out. How many adjustments away do you believe you are of making that 88 car the rocket?
Well, I think we've got about as good as we could when we were running on the track, so it's time to stay out, try to get some clean air. We might have to snug it up just a little bit for clean air, but we need to see. National Guard Chevy's been great all day long. It was a little bit of a struggle under the sun, but we knew when the sun went down we'd have speed, and we do, and it's going to be an excited final little stint here to the end.
Thanks, Stevie.
Thanks.
Lighting up the night sky. Charlotte Motor Speedway as seen from our aerial coverage by Goodyear. From pit lane to victory lane, every NASCAR driver counts on Goodyear tires, the official tire of NASCAR, Goodyear.
So, crew chief, two guys are either really right, or there's about 8 or 10 guys behind them that are really wrong.
And I'm not sure that you could say it's a right or wrong call. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to get back to racing, I think, to truly see. It's been a long time since I told you the best advice I can give you, reach up there and pull your belts tight one more time.
I got him, boss. I got him.
All right, 15 more laps on the front row's tires than everybody else. Lights out atop the Toyota Camry pace car. It'll make the sharp left turn. And Denny Hamlin inside row. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the outside will bring them down for the restart. It'll be 75 laps to go. Green flag. And Junior's got a full head of steam heading off into turn number 1. Hamlin first at the line. Earnhardt his equal on the high side in turn 1. And Earnhardt comes off 2 with the lead.
Little drag race down the back.
Hamlin fights back. Kyle Busch, Hamlin's teammate, is there on the inside.
And Hamlin has been stuck to the bottom all night long, and he made it pass right there. He made it work.
I think he got by with one right there by starting on the inside.
Hamlin the leader, Earnhardt second. Busch third, and Casey Kane has his train coming on the outside.
Oh my gosh, it looked like he hit the afterburner.
Kane was flying around turn number 2, launched off the corner, right up behind Kyle Busch, and could advance no further.
Watch that 5 go around that outside. I don't think it matter how many tires those other guys took. He's on the move.
Yeah, he'll just drive right by Kyle Busch, that 18 car now.
He is getting back in the gas so much quicker. I mean, like right there, and he's back wide open. Watch this thing close.
But Darrell, I think he learned that about this time of night back in the All-Star race last Saturday night. That's exactly what he was doing in that race.
Look at this thing. Watch him rocket around that outside. What a hit of steam. He'll run over Biffle. Or over Dale Jr., I mean, sorry.
Teammates side by side for second. Kane outside Earnhardt. Kane makes the pass. He is 6/10 behind Hamlin. Coming off turn 2. Picks up half a tenth there.
I think I'd be calling in. How many tires did that 5 car take anyway?
Did it take 8?
It took 8.
Got another half a tenth going into turn 3. And now it's car lengths, not seconds, first to second place.
Even with Casey Kane running laps like he's running, Denny Hamlin just ran his quickest lap about a lap ago of this whole race.
But Earnhardt is hanging tough. Remember last year he came within 700 feet of victory lane, running out of gas in turn 4 of the final lap.
Well, remember last week also, he stayed out on old tires after the first 20-lap segment and won the shootout, so he's pretty good on old tires.
And that lap, Kyle Busch went high in turn 3 and almost popped the wall. That dropped the 18 back into the clutches of Jimmy Johnson for 5th.
Boy, you saw Brad Keselowski in that 2 back there wiggle bad. Look at the ground that he lost as he's now under fire from Kevin Harvick in that 29.
Oh, Harv, he's kind of hung around.
Kane pulls up on Denny Hamlin. Second place. And they work their way inside the number 32.
And that killed Casey Kane's run down that back straightaway because that's where he's been so strong off a 2 on that top side.
Yeah, it broke his momentum there when he had to let up just a little wee bit there.
Yeah, the lap car of T.J. Bell, a Coke 600 rookie, staying way up on the high side, out of the way.
But I'm going to tell you something. That 5 car is going somewhere.
Yes, he is. He won't have no lap car to deal with this time. Let's see how he gets off a 2.
Watch it right here. Watch him. Here I come. Give me some room. If you don't give me some room, I'll run over you.
No holding back the Casey Kane train. Kane to the lead.
Now Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 back there in 3rd. He just ran his quickest lap of the race.
But Larry, you know, trouble with is that Danica
Yes.
the wall off 4 guys?
It is, Darrell.
Pretty hard lick.
She slapped it pretty good, but you can still read the yellow lettering on the right side tires.
Larry, but we knew it was just a matter of time before Kenny Francis and Casey Kane got their arms around this car and would run like they're running here tonight.
They've had speed all year long, ever since we dropped the green flag at Daytona.
100 miles to go, and in the last 12 Coke 600s, only Kurt Busch 2 years ago, Casey Kane in 06, and Jimmy Johnson in 04 led at the 500-mile mark right now and went on to win.
Well, there's one of the sharpest guys in the garage. I think Larry will agree, Kenny Francis, and he and Casey have been together for so long, and they're just a great pair.
Through 3 different organizations together.
By 100 miles, this is NASCAR's longest race, and we asked drivers about the effect of going the extra distance tonight.
Well, the mindset for the 600 is a little bit different than we have every week.
It's mentally tough. You got to stay focused.
The last 100 miles here are different. I mean, it's extra.
The mental block goes off and you realize there's still 100+ miles to go.
It's amazing how long this race is and how much durability and how much stamina it takes to win one of these Coca Cola 600s.
Casey Kane, the leader by a second over Denny Hamlin. 9 cars are in the garage. A couple more. Ambrose and Allmendinger spent some time there, but are back out on the racetrack more than 30 laps down. 11 cars on the lead lap. And they've swapped it back and forth 27 times. Among 9 drivers, Greg Biffle has led by far the most in that number 16 Ford. Kyle Busch, Casey Kane among those leading lots of laps. And we have 63 laps and at least 1 more pit stop to go. As we take you side by side, you're watching NASCAR on Fox.
.500-mile mark last year, Kane was leading the race, but wound up 22nd. So, Darrell, who are you keeping an eye on?
Last year, Junior ran out of fuel. Coming off at turn 4, watch for the 88 car. I like the way he sits right now.
Halfway through this baby, I told you I like Casey Kane. He was steady and he was strong, and now he's being dominant. Watch for Casey Kane to finish this baby off.
And Michael, I know he's back there in fourth, but we still have one more pit stop. I think possibly 05 time gets his 7th win at Charlotte, Jimmy Johnson.
Too soon to tell, fellas. In 8 of the last 9 600s, the last lead change was with under 20 laps to go. And Chris, in 4 of the last 5 600s, with 6 or less laps to go, the lead changed hands for the final time. They got a lot of racing left.
Absolutely. With 10 laps to go, the leader failed to win the last 4 races here at the Coca-Cola 600. We've had 27 lead changes, a lot under green, 9 different leaders. Kane leading Hamlin and Earnhardt Jr. at the moment. That's going the extra mile. Our whip around inside 100 miles remaining, Mike.
Kane's lead 1.1 seconds over Denny Hamlin. Junior is 2.8 back. Johnson 3.5. Biffle 4.3. 3 Chevys, a Toyota, and a Ford among the top 5, with Keselowski's Dodge in 6th.
And Mike, we didn't mention Greg Biffle in our kind of rundown there. The man that has dominated tonight, really. But I just think he has run the wheels off of his car. We saw it start snapping loose off of turn 4. He scraped the wall a little bit. I think he just used everything he had up.
You know, another thing that happens in this last 100 miles is you start to think about attrition. And Mark Martin in the 55 car, he was running in the 11th position. He just made that left-hand turn to the garage area with no power in his 55 car.
Sparks flying from underneath as Martin came to pit road.
Whoa. Man, the teammates are working together here. He's got debris on his grill, and he's trying to get it off.
That didn't work. Johnson scoots away in 3rd. You can see the trash on the air inlet under the bumper of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car.
Well, the good news for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and this is going to be the case for Denny Hamlin in 11, they're going to have to make that green flag pit stop here in about 5 to 6 laps. Remember, that's the 2 drivers that stayed out under that last caution.
Yeah, that was, again, that's kind of the downside to that staying out. The tires are certainly good enough. We see that tonight. But it's a fuel issue and how that falls into your pit window.
Yeah, Darrell, they'll have about a 12 to 15 lap window that they'll have to be very nervous and hope that a caution doesn't come out.
Greg Biffle makes the pass on Junior for 4th. And again, Junior unable to dislodge that wrapper or whatever is up against the radiator opening underneath the bumper.
He sure is trying, though. He has been pushing Greg Biffle a couple of times. And you know, he's going to be coming to pit road here very shortly, so I don't think he's going to do any damage. I don't think Junior's going to do any damage to his car or to his engine. He'll get that off when he gets into pits.
Guys, one thing we don't want to lose sight of, we've got 10 cars on the lead lap. This is going to be the most critical pit stop all night long. Who can basically step up to the pressure? We've seen a lot of mistakes. Loose lug nuts, people speeding on pit road. This is crunch time. Who can get on and off pit road and win this race? It's going to be important.
50 laps to go. The pit window to get to the end of the race is going to open here shortly, Larry. Do you want to get in and out quickly, take advantage of those fresh tires, or do you want to hang out and hope for a caution flag?
Well, I think that's going to be the gamble that about 8 of those top 10 drivers have to weigh out, is because Denny Hamlin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. are going to be on pit road shortly. And they're going to get about 10 to 12 laps advantage on those fresh tires. I think we may see an epidemic breakout and start to see drivers hit pit road just because of that.
You know, based on what I've seen with tires, I'd want to be sure I had enough fuel in case I had a green-white checker. And I wouldn't worry so much about tires, but I would want to have enough fuel in there. If I decide to stay out, I can make a green-white checker.
But Jeff Hammond is absolutely right, because we've seen how strong Kyle Busch in the 18 has been on these green flag stops. On the flip side, we've seen Jimmy Johnson and his 48 team struggle a little bit on pit road tonight.
Here are the last pit stops of these drivers, and you saw, here's Kyle Busch coming quickly.
I just think the handle had went away on that 18 car is one reason he's hitting pit road.
I think same thing on the 16, Larry. He's on pit road too, and I think these cars just need work.
But Mike, to your point, the fuel window has opened.
Mike, they actually told Biffle they were going to pit in about 6 more laps. But as you mentioned, the handling's starting to go away. They're going to short pit the other competition. The 11 crew up on the wall, as is the 48, Krista.
Matt, this will be a 4-tire change. They took 2 tires on the last stop. Casey Kane saying, go back on the adjustment that you gave me and give me a little bit more. No wrenches in the back window, though. They're just making those 4-tire changes, Matt.
And Denny Hamlin pitched deep in his box, almost over the line, made it by about 3 inches. And issues for Jimmy Johnson's team. They almost left the pit box with the fuel can attached. Mistake there. Meanwhile, the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in. Caleb Hurd saying they're full of fuel. He is finally away as well.
This cycle the lead around to Brad Keselowski. Now he gives it up to come on pit road along with Matt Kenseth.
You know what I saw with that 48 car? He didn't almost leave. He actually left his pit box with that can still engaged.
Steve?
They gave Brad Keselowski 4 tires on his last stop, Mike. Right side tires now. He said the balance of the car is actually as good as it's been. They do make a chassis adjustment and 4 tires for Brad Keselowski, Krista.
Kevin Harvick saying his car is just really loose. He was loose on the last run. Now it has gone way loose, so they're going to make an adjustment. They have to on this stop and also put on those 4 tires. They felt like this might be the best time of the night for them if they can get this adjustment right.
Truex, Ryan Newman, Jeff Gordon in, and a stop-and-go penalty for the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Steve?
Mike, Jeff Gordon saying I'm just way too loose. They're going to put 4 tires on that number 24 for Jeff Gordon. Again, he said he is just way too loose to make a charge.
So the cars that have not stopped, Eric Almirola, Paul Menard, and Landon Castle, as Casey Kane cycles back to the lead, and it's about the same as he had over Denny Hamlin. It was 3 seconds. Now it's 2.5.
But for all of our lead lap drivers, they knew the importance of new tires. All of that happened within a 2-lap window.
A rare mistake by Jimmy Johnson's team. Watch the fueler.
Yeah, this got
the
ugly.
left rear of the car.
Remember, that's the same thing that happened to his teammate Jeff Gordon at Auto Club Speedway a couple of months ago.
Greg Biffle coming onto pit road. There. As Dale Jr. sped by and locking it up, getting down to pit road speed before the commit line.
Well, we said mistakes on pit road could be a big factor in the outcome of this race, and already it's eliminated, or it's put the 48 car in jeopardy.
That is the 3rd pit road penalty this season for Chad Knaus's crew on Jimmy Johnson's car.
Yeah, he went from running in the top 5 to now the 2nd driver 1 lap down all the way back in 13th.
A year or more ago, pulling that can out of an angle would have been easy to do as the driver took off. But the new fuel probe in use this year with the ventless system has to be straight in, straight out, or it'll hang, as that one did just there.
It's almost like a square peg. I mean, it just really has to be in and out at the right angle.
41 laps to go. Denny Hamlin, 1.4 seconds behind Casey Kane.
You're watching NASCAR on
6 laps to go in Concord, North Carolina, northeast of Charlotte, where Casey Kane is trying to win his first race as a member of Hendrick Motorsports. Tuesday night at the 200th win celebration, all the drivers were brought on stage who had won races for Rick Hendrick as part of that 200. And after that, Casey Kane was brought out on stage and introduced. And I think it probably, Darrell, just made him a little hungrier to be a part of that club of winning drivers for Rick Hendrick that were represented there Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's a tradition. And this 5 car, I mean, this is the car that they started with. This was Papa Joe's car. And this was a car that Jeff Bodine, the car number that Jeff Bodine won the first race in. So this is like the family car.
Kane trying to become the 16th different driver to win in the Sprint Cup Series. For the man that was on the right of your screen, Charlotte car dealer Rick Hendrick.
Listen to this. They have 248 total wins. Rick Hendrick does 14 championships, 200 Cup wins, 6 Daytonas, 7 Brickyards, 10 Southern 500s, 7 All-Star races, and 8 drivers got their first win driving for Hendrick Motorsports.
Let's go back to Jimmy Johnson's pit stop. He's had so much success at this racetrack. And did this stop just take him out of contention? What went wrong and why?
Here we come, fellas, pit road speed. 2 tires, 2. 10 away. Looking left, turn in. Nice and smooth. Get her full. Be ready. Go. Stop. Go. Stop. Oh.
Man.
Obviously, Chad Canal said on the radio where everyone could hear it, 2 tires. But Jimmy Johnson's cue to go is the drop of the jack. The jack man has to make sure that gas man has it full of fuel and that he has disengaged that fuel can.
But it all goes bad. The tire guy falls, and the right front tire's there. The gas man tumbles. I don't think I've ever seen a pit stop quite that messed up.
If the cue is the drop of the jack, then the jack came down too soon. If the cue is the crew chief telling the driver to go, that also happened too soon because the front tire carrier got tangled up in the air hose trying to get that tire back around the pit wall.
But every situation that I was a part of, the cue for the driver to leave, unless you're just doing fuel only, is the drop of the jack.
These two guys right here are battling now for the lucky dog spot.
Right. Instead of racing for the win, Jimmy Johnson trying to battle Matt Kenseth to be the first car a lap down if there is one more caution.
And even though we had a lot of laps to go, I don't disagree with Jimmy Johnson and Chad Canals rolling the dice and going for 2. I think they felt like that may be the only way they could beat Casey Kane, Denny Hamlin, and those drivers up there.
I did like that call. I just did not like that pit stop.
Greg Biffle has led over 200 laps tonight. He finds himself in 4th place. We've had 31 lead changes among 11 drivers, with Casey Kane now out front of Denny Hamlin. 5 caution flags, 4 for debris and 1 for contact. That was Travis Kvapil up and into the wall at lap 169. 23 laps of caution tonight. A lot of green flag runs and green flag pit stops, and more errors than usual as we run this extra 100 miles deep into the night. And this race is 600 miles because when Curtis Turner, star driver and lumberman, and Bruton Smith, his general manager, built the racetrack, they knew to get any attention from Indianapolis, their race would have to be bigger. They couldn't make it bigger, so they made it 100 miles longer. The first 600 wasn't even run Memorial Day weekend. The track wasn't ready. It hadn't been paved. It was raced in June. 3 top drivers got disqualified. Joe Lee Johnson got the win. And here we are at the 53rd running of what's now the Coca Cola 600.
And Mike, I'm getting a report that Casey Kane is starting to complain about his car starting to get really, really loose. And Denny Hamlin is chasing him down.
Yeah, that black dot that was in his rearview mirror is now the big black car of Denny Hamlin. You're riding with Denny. He's been nipping away the last few laps.
Green flag stops for Trevor Bayne, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Paul Menard.
You remember what happened at Kansas, guys? Martin Truex dominated the race. Looked like he had the thing wrapped up. Denny Hamlin and that team on the final adjustment got his car right, and he came and found Martin Truex Jr., passed him and won the race. Looks a whole lot like that right now, doesn't it?
It does, because he is closing in a higher. I mean, he picked up 2/10 that last lap by on Casey Kane.
But, Mike, you talked about Greg Biffle in the 16 back and forth. I just think that they maybe didn't do the best job of keeping up with the changes that this racetrack went through. We talked about that at the top of the show.
Right. Change is going to come. If your car's right at the start of the day, that's fine for then. It's not going to be fine for later.
Casey Kane might be a little bit loose, but he's still got the move off turn 2. I can tell you that. That thing will scoop.
Joe Gibbs Racing has never won the Coca-Cola 600. Denny Hamlin is trying to remedy that. Charlotte, Casey Kane leading. The NASCAR industry has launched NASCAR Unites, an American salute. Unite the NASCAR industry and fans to celebrate America and support U.S. military members and their families. Go to NASCAR.com, Unites, for more information. Joe Gibbs Racing has not won the Coca-Cola 600 since their switch to Toyota. They won in 1995 with Bobby Labonte in a Chevrolet. In the top 5 and coming back after a pit road speeding penalty earlier is the Dodge of Brad Keselowski.
Could really use some good music right now, man. Motivational kind, you know? Like maybe some Metallica. Yeah, I don't do karaoke. I'll sing to you. Dun 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 dun.
That's Flight of the Valkyries. It's not Metallica.
That's when you know you're in a long race, when the spotter starts singing to you.
If he starts hearing a Metallica sound out of that car, that's not going to be good.
Larry, one thing I've been watching these lap times between Kane and Hamlin, Kane's car was loose. He was complaining about being a little loose, but as that fuel burns off, that car's going to tighten up, and his lap times have really improved over the last 7 or 8 laps.
Oh, yeah, he beat Denny Hamlin that time by 0.4 of a second. Now that black 11 car is becoming a black dot again back there in the rearview mirror.
He's got he can get such an incredible run off of turn 2. That's where he makes the most time on anybody I've seen him run up against.
Oh, something we hadn't mentioned, this is Casey Kane's 300th career start in Sprint Cup here tonight.
Kane up by 2.2 seconds on Denny Hamlin. Next week, the Monster Mile, Dover, Delaware. NASCAR on Fox Sunday afternoon coverage. Our pole sitter, Eric Almirola, in his first Coca-Cola 600, driving for Richard Petty. Eric's 2 laps down in the Air Force car and will extend the string of Cup races without the pole winner going to victory lane to 29. That will tie the record set in 1989 and 80. Meanwhile, Danica Patrick, who gave up IndyCar racing and the 500 to run a full season of nationwide racing and about 10 Sprint Cup races, the toughest ones they could pick. And here she is a couple of laps ago.
You know what? That was a great save. That car could have easily have been backed up in the fence, but she hasn't had a real fun night.
No, but the right side of that car looks pretty clean, Darrell. She's 30th. She's 5 laps down. But her goal is to run all the laps and finish. With 14 laps to go, looks like she'll be running at the finish. There's Denny Hamlin, 2.5 seconds back of Casey Kane now, but a 0.5 tenth quicker last lap on the stopwatch than the leader.
But you know, at Darlington 2 weeks ago, she ran the Saturday race, or the Friday night race and the Saturday race, ran all the laps, or finished both races, was 6 laps down in the Saturday night race. But the same thing tonight, 5 or 6 laps down, but she's run all the, she's finished the race.
Greg Biffle, our points leader in the 16 car, led so many laps tonight, sitting back there in the 4th position right now. Brad Keselowski in the 2 top 5, remember, had that pit road speeding penalty all the way back on the first caution at lap 111.
Just outside the top 5, Dale Earnhardt Jr. led the white flag lap here last year. You're probably, if you're a Junior fan, as tired of hearing that as he is. Came so close to winning it. And Kevin Harvick, who closed it out on Earnhardt last May here in Charlotte. He is 7th and 20 seconds behind the leader. Jeff Gordon has rebounded. He was a lap down at one point. He's in 8th place, 22 seconds back. And the last lead lap car has also come back from being a lap down tonight, and that is Carl Edwards in the 99.
You know, I don't want to jinx Jeff Gordon in that 24 car, but if he can close this night out here with 10 laps to go, that'll be his first top 20 finish in 5 races.
Wow.
I never thought we'd say that, Larry. It's just been a really rough period of time for Jeff Gordon and that team. And it's not because it hadn't had the performance. It's just been bad luck.
Casey Kane started the season, you saw the graph earlier, couldn't do much right. Now he's had a string of top 10 finishes. Jeff Gordon's kind of gone the other way. Had a great car start of the season, but not the finishes to show for it. And now it looks like the Black Cat has walked across to the other side of the shop.
And look at that. Look at him in that car. Relaxed. He's not fighting the wheel. You take a look at Danica. We saw her earlier. He's relaxed. Nice and smooth. Never has to move the wheel but one time. Just moves it to the left. Back in the gas. Straight up off the corner. Nice, nice ride. That's what you call holding a pretty wheel right there.
And he is still the fastest car on the racetrack. 30.36. Last time by to Denny Hamlin's 30.64.
And quite honestly, it looks like his own cruise control.
Yep. For Rick Hendrick, who waited months to go from victory 199 to 200. In the space of 2 weeks, he's won Darlington for that 200th win. And he won the Sprint All-Star race with Jimmy Johnson here last Saturday night, and then hitched a ride to victory lane.
I think he'd be all right with me telling you this, Mike, but he said that may be the dumbest thing he ever did. He said it's the most fun thing I ever did because I love riding down through there waving at the fans. But he said, man, I could have fallen off.
He's now second on the all-time car owner win list to Petty Enterprises.
Well, he walked into Victory Circle at Darlington 2 weeks ago and grabbed Jimmy and hugged him, said, thanks for 200. Now let's get 250.
That's it. For Casey Kane, it's let's get number 1. Since joining Hendrick Motorsports at the start of this season, he is 6 laps away, and his lead continues to build on Denny Hamlin.
5 to go here. 5 to go. Stay focused here. Stay focused. 5-4.
It's now 4+ seconds.
Yeah, he just needs to chill out. He's got a nice lead. Can be rather conservative these last 5 laps.
9 cars on the lead lap back through Carl Edwards, and only 3 cars a lap down. Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex.
But you were talking about Rick Hendrick. I don't think Rick will have a really sigh of relief until that car takes the checkered flag. When you think back to Martinsville just a few weeks ago when he had it look like a wrapped up 1-2-3 finish.
Yeah, he had the front row on what was to be the last restart. And Clint Boyer came down and cleaned off the whole front row. Ryan Newman won the race. 4 to go.
And Casey, I mentioned earlier, he raced over at the dirt track on Friday night in the sprint cars, the wing cars over there. Great show. Raced out here yesterday afternoon, 300 miles, had a good run. And then out here tonight, 600 miles. These guys, they're real athletes. Hey, here's a battle right here shaping up right at the end of the night.
7th place. Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick. Both lead lap cars.
And what do you think Jeff Gordon's saying? Where'd he come from?
Because we say that a lot about Kevin
right,
Harvick.
We say it all the time.
How about Montoya there, just ahead of the leader, about to get lapped? But give Juan Montoya a lot of credit. He's won the Grand Prix of Monaco. He's won the Indianapolis 500 and is the only driver in history to run both of those races and this one.
You know, I know you just mentioned that Rick Hendrick truly wants to see the checkered flag, but with the lead that Casey Kane has, actually the real flag he's looking for is the next one he's going to see, because we know we've got a race with that white flag waving.
Well, there
white
it is.
Flag, got plenty of room behind you. Plenty of room behind you.
Kane is trying to join 2 NASCAR Hall of Famers who both won in their 300th career start. Double Cup champion Ned Jarrett and the '89 champion Rusty Wallace each won their 300th start. That's the number Casey Kane is on tonight.
Pretty nice celebration.
Around the turn to the front straightaway, the 13th career win for Casey Kane is the Coca Cola 600.
Kane was able tonight.
It's his third Coke 600 win.
Man, great job tonight, guys. I'm proud of you guys on pit road, man. Y'all did a heck of a job, man. That was great. Great job, Casey.
Kane is the 16th different driver to win for Hendrick Motorsports. He gets his 4th Charlotte win in 17 starts and his 3rd in the Coca-Cola 600. He is the 9th different driver to win a Sprint Cup race this season. He beats Denny Hamlin by 4.3 seconds. Kyle Busch, Greg Biffle, Brad Keselowski, then Earnhardt, Gordon, Harvick,
Great
Edwards.
job, you and Kitty's crew, pit crew guys. Great job, man.
That's the voice of car owner Rick Hendrick. The finish scrolls across the screen. Other notables: Jimmy Johnson after that pit miscue, 11th. Pole sitter Eric Almirola, 16th. And Danica Patrick, only the 2nd woman ever to race in the Coca-Cola 600 after Janet Guthrie, winds up 30th.
We've been talking about the turnaround of Casey Kane. Think about it, 6 races ago, 31st in points. Probably wished he could just start 2012 all over again.
And he did.
Yes, he did.
Casey Kane is headed to victory lane.
With Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers, and we welcome you to the Sprint Post-Race Show live here in Charlotte Motor Speedway, the fastest Coca-Cola 600 ever, with an average speed of over 155 miles per hour. The old mark, 151. And celebrating from Charlotte, North Carolina, to the Pacific Northwest and Washington State as Casey Kane from Washington State, your winner. And Chris Devoda is down there for the celebration.
Some drivers hope to win the Coca-Cola 600 once in their career. Casey Kane, you have now won this race 3 times, but I have to imagine, as your car owner Rick Hendrick came over, first one to your car, I have to imagine this one feels a little different.
It feels really good. It's so special and awesome to drive for Rick and Linda Hendrick, and for them to make me part of their company. I mean, this is unbelievable to drive for Hendrick Motorsports and be part of everything they do there. Our Hendrick engine was awesome tonight, brand new car that so many people put a lot of effort into, and thanks to Quaker State and the durability of the oil, we went 600 miles no problem with tons of power. And Farmers Insurance, HendrickCars.com, Chevrolet, they've all been a huge part of our season, and it feels good to get a win tonight.
Casey, the season started on such a down note for you. You said you never really got worked up about it, though, because you said you didn't feel like you'd come to your capability yet. You hadn't performed yet to your capability. Do you feel like you have now, and have the tides turned?
Well, we're gaining. I think that's like 7 top 10s in a row, counting the All-Star race, and so we're making big strides. I have the greatest teammates to work with, which is something that I've really looked forward to coming to Hendrick Motorsports and be able to learn from Jimmy and Jeff and Dale and see how they do things, and Chad Knaus and all their crew chiefs, Gustafson and Letarte. I mean, they're all awesome guys, and to learn from those guys, work with those guys, is all I really wanted to do.
Well, Jimmy Johnson gave Rick Hendrick win number 200. Casey Kane, you've just given him points win number 201. Congratulations, Casey Kane, a 3-time winner of the Coca-Cola 600. Matt?
Greg Biffle led 204 laps tonight, the 100, 200, 300, and 400-mile mark. But, Greg, what changed the tone of your night?
You know, when the speeds picked up and it cooled down, same thing at the All-Star race. We were pretty dang good. And then as the speeds picked up, our car was down a little bit harder on the nose, and it just slid the front end up the racetrack. And I was driving for all I was worth, but, 2 tires just kills our car, too. We did 2 tires a couple times and lost track position big time. And unfortunately, it was toward the end, 1 stop before the end, we just couldn't recover track position-wise. And Casey got good as the night fell, and we seemed to struggle a little bit.
In the 7 races that Greg Biffle's led laps in 2012, his average finish was 4th. That's where he finished tonight.
Thanks, Matt. Here's a look at tonight's 5-hour energy big move of the race. The pit stop that took Jimmy Johnson from contention. The jack dropped. Johnson went. The fueler wasn't done, and the tire changer got tied up. That's the 5-hour energy big move of the race. Happy 70th birthday, Dick Berggren.
Jimmy Johnson finishes 11th tonight, but that's the third penalty on pit road that's been harmful to your chances to win. Your crew doesn't usually make mistakes. What's happening?
No, we just, we had a couple little mistakes on pit road tonight, and the one late, it took us out of chance for top 3 there, but it happens. Last week things couldn't have gone any better. Darlington, they went amazing, and then this week we had a few little issues. So these guys will work their tails off this week and make sure that we get those things corrected. We had a decent car, not the car that we had last week. This track changes a lot from week to week, but I still think we would have had a very fair showing with the Lowe's Chevrolet. But 11th is what it is.
Win as a team, lose as a team. See you next week.
Thanks, Dick. Happy birthday to you and to Krista's dad, Dick Voda. Well,
Yeah,
Darrell, have a look at the finish here.
Yeah, all 4 of the Hendrick cars in the top 11. You got a couple of Gibbs cars in the top 5 and 3 Roush cars in the top 10.
See Matt Kenseth there in the 17, all 3 Roush cars in the top 10, but he was the first one a lap down.
Number of top talents, including Tony Stewart, struggled tonight. Came home with a 25th place finish.
And Jamie McMurray, who made a charge early in the race. Really, we had 6 stages in the race, and 4 of those dominated by Greg Biffle. And then at the 500-mile mark, Kane the lead, and then finished it off at 600. And impressive when you think about Casey Kane's career. Began at a Ford. He's won at a Toyota, a Dodge, and now at a Chevy for Mr. 200, Rick Hendrick, or 201. And Denny Hamlin, second place finisher. Our Matt Yoakum caught up with him.
Impressive run by Denny Hamlin in the 11 team, and Denny with a second place finish here in the longest race. What do you take out of here the most positive for you and your team?
Well, this is our new 2012 cars. This is the first cars that Darian's really had his hand in and building, and it's definitely a step in the right direction with our teammates right there, second and third. So it's a positive. We just need a little bit more of everything, We need a little bit more motor, a little bit more aero, a little bit more mechanical, and we'll get there. But just use all my tires up, trying to get to them, driving with my eyes out and my hair on fire for 20 laps on that restart, trying to catch him. But he just had the superior car in the long run.
Denny Hamlin second here in Charlotte.